let's start the show.
It's March 14th, 2013. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. I'm Will Smith. The gang's back together today. Joining me today, Norman Chan.
Hello. Is this episode 161 or 162?
This is 161.
Okay.
Last week doesn't count. Last week was a completely different thing. We're not going to talk about that. And to Norm's left, Gary Whitta, making his triumphant return to This Is Only a Test.
Have I been away that long?
Seems like you've been away for a while.
A couple of weeks at least.
I think it's been like 4, probably.
Whatever.
Yeah. The last time we saw you was 2012, I think.
No,
that's not
Gary
right.
was back in 2013.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Definitely.
We
At
had
least
one
once.
podcast for the first real podcast of the year.
I don't
Yeah.
think you've been here since I had a kid, though, since I was back from that.
No, I think I have.
Maybe
Yeah,
once.
yeah.
It seems like a long
You had
time.
pictures of the sack.
Oh, that's right. You saw the placenta. The sack.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
Maybe only once though.
Okay. Well, so anyway, you're back. Welcome back, Gary. It's
Thanks.
good to have you here. Last week we did something a little different, but we're picking up with episode 161 right here, right where we left
So
off.
there was no regular tested podcast last week?
We did the dad thing.
Right, but
That was it.
In place of, not in
It
addition
was
to.
it was a
Yes.
special.
I was out of town.
Oh.
We did the like, you know how sometimes on TV, like on Survivor night, they'll take Survivor out and put something else in that slot.
Yeah.
During like,
Yeah, we did that.
non-sweeps week when
Yeah.
they're trying to fill in the gap with
Like
something.
they're trying to introduce a new show. So like instead of playing
It's a
American Idol
special.
one night, you'll dump House in that slot
It's
so that more people
it's
watch
a
House.
TV special.
Pretty much.
A pilot that didn't make it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, except for I think this one actually made it. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. We gotta figure out
pilot.
frequency and all that stuff. It was a pilot for a new show. People seem to like it.
Yeah, see, from what I saw, the response was quite good.
Yeah. People.
Although I
Did you
did
have a
hear-
joke they tell at the end of the episode?
You mean like Mama Tomato and Baby Tomatoes are crossing the street?
What?
Something like that.
Fox Force 5 joke
Fox
is what
Force
you're
5
looking
joke?
for?
Yeah.
No, I don't
No,
have a
no
joke at
joke.
the end of that.
All right.
episode.
I heard that Jeff Green wanted in pretty dark territory towards the end there.
Jeff Green. Have you listened to it?
No, I'm too
I
scared.
have not.
It was dark.
So that's what I'm hearing.
As a father of a daughter, which is a weird thing to say still.
So
like 2
was it
months in.
dark as
Well,
in-
and he's one
it was,
too.
It was to scare the other dads?
I'm never letting my kids stay over at Gary's house, and you should never let your kids stay at my house.
Wait, I thought Jeff Green was the problem, not us.
The thing that Jeff Green gave a glimpse into the dark soul of
Yeah,
every
but we don't all.
father of-
Yeah,
Wait, his
fortunately,
dark soul.
His dark soul.
Okay.
We don't all have Jeff Green's dark soul.
I hope
fortunately.
not, but I mean,
Unfortunately. No, but
we won't know for a few
Well,
years.
it's the American Beauty thing, right? We talked about it earlier.
You think that's it? You think he's Kevin Spacey?
I think he could be Kevin Spacey.
Oh, I can kind of see that. We'll have to discuss this
Badass,
further.
Kevin Spacey.
Is he? He's American Beauty. He's not like Kaiser Sose though. Sorry, spoilers.
Kevin Spacey in all his forms is pretty badass.
Yeah,
I
except
agree.
for K-Pax.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Never,
but everything else is
except
fantastic.
for and maybe
Or
pay
that
it forward.
lounge singer. What was that lounge singer?
The Under the Sea.
Oh.
Under the Sea.
Yeah, he played Bobby Darin, right?
Bobby Darin,
Yeah.
that's a good movie. It's a
Yeah, nothing
passion
wrong with
project.
that. Yeah.
But not a badass role.
Well, neither was the Pay It Forward guy, but he changed the world.
Did he?
People say they're going to pay stuff forward all the time now. I still think it's kind of
Kevin
weird,
Spacey
but,
seems
you
to
know.
be better when he's playing bad guys.
Oh, he
Yeah.
also did the Kate Winslet movie where it was about death penalty.
Winter's Bone.
No, not Winter's Bone.
The life of David Gale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw that.
It
Okay.
it was anti-death penalty.
This is probably the worst.
And of course, House of Cards, right? He's more of a bad guy than a good guy in that.
Well, he's a politician,
But
right?
that is a badass role.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Kevin Spacey. I'm pro.
Yeah,
Kevin
I mean, what's
Spacey.
not to like? He's terrific. I saw him in Richard III.
Superman Returns. Nah. No. Nah.
But if you really want
It
to
could
see,
have been
if you
worse.
really want to go see that guy act like more than
Capital A?
go and see him do Shakespeare live
Richard
on
III.
stage.
Kevin Spacey?
I saw him here in San Francisco playing Richard III.
Oh,
and
so
it
you
was,
saw that run?
it was fantastic.
Wow.
Wow.
It was
and he talks to the
incredible.
audience in that too.
I mean, it's his whole performance is just unbelievable. It was like you can see he's sweating and he's so exhausted, and you are as well. Like you get so caught up in the emotion of the performance that it's draining for the audience. It was really amazing.
Is Richard III Richard the Lionhearted, or is he a different Richard?
Yeah, Richard III is not the same as Richard Lionheart.
Richard the Lionheart is Richard.
Richard
the
III
First,
is the
right?
one that they just, it was the Hunchback, was the one
He's
they
the
just
clock
discovered
one.
under,
found
they
the
discovered
face.
under a parking lot recently.
The skull of.
Right, and he's the one that was insane and kept winding clocks because he was afraid time was going to go backwards.
I don't know about that.
I got that from a Douglas Adams book.
Lionheart was one in Braveheart.
No,
No, that was King Edward.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Let's
Let's
move away
yeah,
This
from
is people's history.
Dangerous
this
territory.
is none of your specialty.
Well, technology then.
So you went to,
I would question that also.
you went to South by this week.
Oh, is that what you call it? You just call it South by?
That's what the kids call it.
I call it South by Southwest because I'm not fully indoctrinated yet.
You should call it SXSW.
Nobody does that either.
No, nobody does that either. So South
It's actually more syllables to say it that way than just to say South by
South by.
Southwest.
Is there a gesticulating sign for South by?
If there was, I didn't see it.
you make a like
Throwing-
You're talking about gang signs.
Yeah.
for
Throwing,
South by?
throwing up in the street, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. It's you twirl your wax mustache.
Oh man, so many hipsters.
So much facial hair.
It is
at
like
South by.
Comic Con, but with hipsters instead of nerds.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
That seems about right.
Yeah.
tight jeans and wax
And it has
facial
become
hair.
fully corporate. Like I guess it started out as a little kind of indie music festival, and it's now all social media, apps, hashtags. You know,
QR
girls
codes.
walking around handing out flyers and stickers, and like, oh, sign up for our new social Tumblr app fucking network thing.
Well, so in the old days, the last time I went was probably 2009 or 2008. I can't remember. And
First year of Twitter.
no, that was 2007. I went after that.
What was the cool thing then?
Nothing. That's why I stopped going. So it used to be like a thing you went to because the music festival was there, and the music was really good.
Yeah.
And then there was also something that was arguably a little bit about work.
Right.
Yeah, it's the other way around.
And when Twitter launched, because Twitter launched at South by in 2007, and that kind of changed the face of that interactive festival, because then it became a place for people to go launch their new startups and .coms.
Mm-hmm.
And
The interactive part of it has become very big.
it got real crazy. Now it involves like games and all. I mean,
Well,
there's
so
always
they
been
add, so
movies
they
and-
added
Yes,
they added
Gary.
they added a dedicated gaming area this year, which was it was kind of like a micro E3. It was pretty small, but gaming does have its own piece of that now. I guess like a subset of the interactive portion. But it's impressive, I'd never been. I've been to Austin, but I've never been to South by Southwest. I didn't know what to expect. But there is a traditional expo hall.
Yeah.
But that's just a very small part of it. What I like about it is, it really takes over the whole town. And so you've got live music events are happening at venues all over the city. You've got film screenings happening
And it's all the
over the
same
city. You've got live performances, comedy happening at all different places. There's no one central area. It's like every bar, theater, anything with a stage or where they can get people in, they'll have events there. And the interactive part of it is all over the place as well.
Well, so and so the main brunt of the interactive part isn't the expo, or at least it wasn't when I was there last. It was more that there's a bunch of panels, and they range
yeah, and all
across
tons of
all
panels.
topics.
Yeah, experts.
Like some of the interesting stuff was, and this is before the community manager thing became a joke at PAX.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who ran customer support for sites like Flickr and Zappos and stuff like that would go
Right.
through and explain what their strategy was and what kind of tools they used to maintain stuff. And it was
Right.
it was a good place to kind of share information that maybe there wasn't another venue for at the time.
And good panels. So I guess Elon Musk did a keynote, and Al Gore had a thing there, and they had weird Tesla versus Edison debate
Yeah.
club, just good geeky stuff like that.
Palmer from Oculus Rift did a panel in
Yeah.
the morning one day.
You were also
so
on the
we
panel.
were there with the Telltale guys. We did Genova Chen from that game company. We did a little session on the future of storytelling in the interactive era. That was kind of my official reason for being there, and that was great. It's interesting. The whole thing was I saw a lot of cool stuff. It's frustrating though. It's one of those things where even though I was there for a couple of days, it's like going to a film festival or any kind of big cultural event. You've got to have a plan. You've got to have an idea for what you want to see.
Yeah.
You've got to, because I wandered around for a lot and I felt like I barely scratched the surface of all the cool stuff that was going on.
And that's the reason not to go. Like, you go, you see cool stuff, and then you're like, oh, I didn't see the best stuff. Or I missed out on something.
Well, because all the stuff that might be the most exciting, like Girl Talk had a live show there, which I would love to have seen.
Yeah.
But it was massively oversubscribed. All the stuff that you'd really want to see was just massively packed
Joey's
out.
there now.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Well, because the
for
music
film
part
and
kicks
music.
in later.
Yeah. What happens is in the
The
hotel.
music part is just getting underway now, I think.
Like my favorite thing to do in the old days was to go and do interviews in the hotel lobby at the Four Seasons.
Yeah.
Because it transitioned over the course, because it starts on a Friday, which is weird, and the interactive stuff goes over the weekend, and then the music stuff starts on Monday, I think, or Tuesday.
Right.
And what happens is the hotel lobby at the nice hotels downtown, like the Omni and the Four Seasons, and even the Marriott across the street, transitioned from a bunch of fucking nerds like me to like rock and roll guys with real skinny jeans and like
Yeah,
black
you definitely
leather
see that
pants and-
demographic shift.
yeah, it's a real hard swing there at the end of the show.
Yeah.
So what did you see that was good?
Well, first of all, I just want to point out just like another little cultural thing. I haven't been to Austin in many years, and I certainly haven't been during South by Southwest. But 6th Street is pretty amazing during South by Southwest.
Yeah.
I mean, just the rest of the year, I don't know what they do. I guess it's mostly like University of Texas students, but like
Party.
it's kind of weird to see a street where and it goes on for like many blocks. Where literally, with maybe a couple of exceptions, obviously, but for the most part, every single storefront is a bar.
It's like bar, used clothes, mustache.
I mean,
wax,
outside
bar,
of
It's
bar,
not on the
bar.
first floor. It's on the
Outside of
second
New
floor.
Orleans, I didn't think there was anything like that. But and they're all packed out. I mean,
Shot
it's
bars.
crazy.
Yeah, it's a good
shot bars, dueling piano, and they're all like real spit and sawdust, kind of grimy. Yeah, but that's
Texas
kind of
shuffleboard.
In Austin,
That's all part of the fun.
It's
I
relatively
walked past
flat.
a place that had a blackboard outside, and it said "Soup of the Day Whiskey." I thought that was kind of cool. So it's that everyone's getting drunk.
Were people
everyone-
biking around?
Yeah, they had bikes that they had bikes that you could just take and leave. It was like just take this bike, go on a ride, and leave
Really?
it wherever,
That's
and
great.
someone else will pick it up.
That's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
And pedicabs.
lots of pedicabs. Did you see the Game of Thrones
Yeah, I did.
pedicab? That was
Yeah,
kind of
the
cool.
Creative
It looked
pedicabs.
like
they do
a.
that.
Did it look like the throne?
Looked like
Yeah,
the
it looked
throne.
like the Throne of Swords.
Did you
Yeah.
see? I heard Grumpy Cat was there. Grumpy Cat was enslaved in the Mashable booth.
Grumpy Cat was a big celebrity.
Yeah.
Grumpy Cat's a female cat, right?
It's a lady cat.
Yeah,
There were a lot of celebrities. I saw a lot of famous people.
So tell us some stories.
I don't. I mean, I don't have a lot.
Entertain us,
I don't have a
Gary.
lot of like big social stories because I didn't really go out very much. When you get to my age, you don't really want to do the bar hopping thing. You just want to go out and have a nice dinner and
No,
be in bed before midnight.
during the day.
Yeah.
What did I do? So the first day, I just kind of poked around. So what happened was
Poked around, different meaning for.
the first day was actually my best day.
Okay.
Because that was when I discovered the Oculus Rift.
Oh.
That which actually
yes.
that was
Yeah,
my
yeah.
highlight, my unexpected highlight of the entire
Yes,
experience.
So you didn't know you were going to see it there?
No, I had no idea.
Was it like in a booth? Was it behind closed doors?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't there officially. They had an Oculus panel that Cliff Plazinski was a part of because I guess Cliff is an advisor and an investor in
Sure, yeah.
Oculus VR. And I obviously Cliff's a friend of mine, so I texted him saying, "Oh, hey, you're going to be in South by Southwest. Let me know if you want to hang out." And he said, "Sure. What do you want to do?" And I said, "I said, I'm just wandering around. Like, what are you doing there?" He said, "I'm part of this Oculus panel." I said, "Oh, I keep hearing great things about the Oculus Rift. I wish I could see it." And he said, "Oh, if you want to see it, I can work that out." And it was literally one of the founders of Oculus VR, sitting in the corner of the lounge at the W Hotel, with his little black box, his little briefcase.
Yeah.
And it wasn't official. They weren't officially showing it to anyone, not even a kind of a behind closed door. He had the gear with him, but I don't think that it was for demo purposes. And they gave me a demo of it, and it.
So was the one that you had the one that was the demo they showed the one that
Unity
like ski
engine
goggles? No, what it was like a big square box.
It
or
was.
did
It looked like
smooth plastic?
a little square box, black box
Yeah.
that they strap onto your head.
And it had like a ski goggle back, like Scott
Strap.
Martin.
Yeah,
or
like
something,
just
right?
like
Something
the Velcro straps. The guy would say like, get it situated the way you want it, and then
Yeah.
he would reach around and strap it in place once you found your sweet
And you
spot.
wore it with your glasses.
I wore it with my glasses.
And
okay, that's new.
And,
we did with glasses.
the
surprisingly,
one I did it wouldn't you couldn't wear glasses with.
at CES,
surprisingly,
we all had glasses.
Okay.
it didn't feel like it got in the way of the glasses
It
at
didn't.
all. It was quite
If you're-
comfortable.
because it's focused to infinity. I think if you're nearsighted, you don't need glasses. If you're farsighted,
Well,
or
and
maybe
he also mentioned that in
astigmatism,
the
you
final
will need
version, they're
glasses.
looking at some kind of calibration where it'll actually
Can
compensate
each
for whatever your
individual-
vision
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
So that's my vision is bad enough that I wasn't able to. I could kind of see, but not really.
But in the final version of it, theoretically, what he's saying is even with the glasses off, you
Yeah.
would have 20/20 vision in the gap.
yeah, because the lens is configurable.
Right.
So was it the demo where it was the Epic Citadel demo?
It was Epic Citadel was
Okay.
what they were running. Or
And-
Unreal Citadel. What is it? Unreal,
yeah. It's
Unreal
Unreal-
Citadel or Epic
it's
Citadel? I can't
Epic
remember what they call
Citadel.
it. But it's
Yeah.
that demo.
Yeah.
The precursor to what Infinity Blade turned
Sure.
out to be.
And then just walked around and
Walked
looked
around and flew around.
Oh.
The demo is really good.
The amazing thing to me about it was not. I mean, the graphical fidelity is great. We're all used to that now. Like high res graphics look nice.
high-res graphics did not look nice in that
What?
in the Oculus Rift.
Well, the point I'm making is that the thing that was amazing about it is the field of vision, not the reproduction of the graphics. The thing is, it fills your entire field of vision in front of you.
So look, here's the thing. I've tried a bunch of these virtual reality.
Yeah, you were
headsets.
editor, PC gamer back in the bad old days.
I remember the old Virtuality arcade machines that they had many years ago, running those MechWarrior games and stuff.
Yeah.
And the promise of it, we understand what the idea is meant to be, but the technology has always fallen way short. The virtuality, and even up to that headset, the Sony one that we tried on
the
last year,
the
was terrible. Right, it was too heavy.
Well, it wasn't meant to be VR.
It was blurry. It wasn't comfortable. I mean, but.
It projected the equivalent of like an 80-inch screen 10 feet in front of you, not filling your vision with graphics. With
This
what you're
thing,
seeing.
however,
150 inch.
the Oculus
150
Rift,
inch, whatever.
the second you put it, it's funny because the guy when the guy would do the demo, because I ended up having some friends come over, so you got to see this, and he would do the same demo every time. He would like give you like a 10-15 minute talk before he'd put the goggles on, and I was thinking, just give people the goggles. That's all you need to do, because as soon as you put these things on, it's like holy shit.
So when I was in a room with a couple of friends at PAX when they gave me the demo, and it sounds like a drug experience at this point, I know. But I mean, I basically like as soon as I put it on, I was like, I did not register outside voices or conversation.
It was instantaneous. Within 1 second of putting it on, you go, oh shit, this is what I've wanted all my life.
Yeah,
but the games have to really support it.
And so the key is, so there's three things going on that for me made it work. One is the fact that it's really light. The hardware is so much lighter and smaller than you think it's going to be. You're barely aware of the fact that it's on your face.
It feels like a pair of ski goggles.
Basically,
Plus
it's like wearing a pair of ski goggles. It's really comfortable.
Because it's not glasses like the Sony things where you're not putting them on your ears, you're wrapping them around your head and you're tightening the strap.
Right. So that's very comfortable.
But again, none of us have used it and played it for more than 15 minutes.
5, 10, 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, the demos are pretty short.
Yeah, so who knows for 2 hours.
Then the stereoscopic 3D effect is phenomenal. So in the Epic Citadel demo, it's snowing, and he would say, "Look up," and you look up, and the snow is now falling down on your face.
So in Doom 3, there were pockets of steam blasting out of the pipes, and you could see the edge of the steam. You could see the definition of the steam cloud, which is amazing.
Well, you see that's a sprite.
It wasn't a sprite. It's a volumetric
particles
cloud.
and
And then the two other things that really make it what it is are they say there's still some latency there, but it's not that you notice it. When you look left, you look left. There's no lag or anything at all. It happens instantaneously. So it really does feel like looking around.
Was it like a 1-to-1 movement where it feels like you move your head 30 degrees to the right and your character moves his head 30 degrees to the right?
Yes, I felt absolutely
the character
perfect.
spins his body 30 degrees to the
And then the whole idea of there's no edge. You're basically in a sphere.
Yeah.
And you can turn around and look all the way behind you and you'll see what's behind you. And you never are aware of an edge of a screen or the game world ending. You are completely
magic
and utterly immersed, surrounded in this world. And it genuinely does feel like being in another world.
Give me Skyrim on this.
Holodeck, Ready Player One, whatever analogy you want to use. This is
Crash is the original.
such a close. This is a huge leap towards that.
Well, in UCLA or USC, they're using the Oculus Rift with their holodeck project, where they have the treadmill and the people wear the Oculus Rift, and so you're walking in environments and not just holding a gamepad.
So what happened was after 5 minutes, it's like a baptism. Like you put this thing on, and 5 minutes later you take it off, and you go, It's like, can I still invest in this? Like this thing could take over the world. I mean, it's crazy. And I was instantly texting friends of mine that I knew were there saying, like, you've got to come over and see this thing. And I had like maybe 4 or 5 of my friends that were there, all came over, and it was actually just as much fun to watch people try it as a try. You see them put their goggles on, and literally you see their mouth open. They go, oh shit. Like the second they put it on, they've never experienced anything like it. And when things get close up to you, the demo is really good, right? So you're standing in this kind of medieval courtyard, and there are like soldiers in armor, in suits of armor, kind of pathing around. And you walk up to them, and the 3D effect is really, like, when they get up close, you really, like, you feel like they're right there in your face. And one guy pathed right through me, and I tried to step, you do that thing where you try to step out of his way.
The race car lean.
Because your brain is tricked into thinking something's really there. And then you walk around for a bit, and the guy says, right now you're going to fly. And he presses a button that just no-clips you. And you fly around, and then wherever you look, you have like full mouse look. So wherever you look, you're going to start moving, and you press forward, you're going to go in the direction you're looking.
Superman.
You honestly felt like Superman.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this.
It was unbelievable. I would buy the dev kit just to have it as like a party piece at my house. We would come over and walk around this demo.
My favorite part about the video Norm did at CES was when Norm was interviewing the guy. Braga was in the background
Spinning
using
his head upside down.
playing with the,
Yeah.
with the
I mean,
with the headset.
we would recommend people don't buy the dev kit.
Yeah,
if you believe in it, you find a friend who has a dev kit and try it there because it's awesome.
or
but
pool
do
your
not-
money with a friend.
Do not spend the $300 to buy a dev kit because the final version will be that much better.
Yeah, no doubt. I think the people that are out there are like the people that are genuinely interested in either working with the technology or just are super geeky and have to try it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you think I'm exaggerating?
No, I said the same thing after PAX last year. I came away a complete convert, and like just to be clear,
And Brad saw it at E3 last year and he was blown away.
Yeah, I mean it's literally it's a thing that I wanted to believe in for a long time and was burned over and over and over again over the 10 years preceding or 20 years preceding really, because I mean we started seeing that stuff in like 96, 97.
Yeah.
And it always sucked. And this is really, really good and is capable. Like it's real with the hardware. They're getting the developer support to make the games happen and support it. Like it is a thing that is going to happen.
Cliff said to me, he said, beware when you put this thing on. Once you put this on, playing games on a regular panel is going to seem stupid to you after this. And he was right. I put it on and I was absolutely blown away by it. And then like later on walking around the game hall and they were playing like some driving game on one of those iFinity 6 monitor setups. I'm like, that is stupid.
Why would you waste your time
That
with
is not
this?
even close to what I just
Well,
experienced.
if you play something like an RTS or a SimCity game, you're going to need a flat panel.
for certain things like that, I can
Yeah.
see it. But anything with a first person perspective, driving games,
Third person, no. Third person isn't going to work.
maybe
with
not.
these
No,
games.
I
I think third person will be fine.
it makes most sense in first person.
I can't imagine playing a race car flight sim with that.
And there are a lot of game development challenges that they had to get over, like independently moving heads and bodies, and
So this is the
your
thing.
motion control.
They are sitting on potentially a multi-billion-dollar invention here. This thing could be the next next big thing. And the tricky question is, what's the right business approach? Do they try to market this hardware and get developers to support it as a third-party thing? Do they just, because I'm telling you, if I was the head of Microsoft or Sony and I'd try this thing, I'm like, how big a check do I need to write to
Yeah.
just
Well,
buy this
when-
all and have this be our thing?
when we saw it at CES, we did our demo, and the person sitting in our demo had a Sony like executive badge.
I mean, if
So
they're smart,
they've seen it.
They're smart. They're going to buy it all in.
Well, I mean, the other option is to sell middleware, like SpeedTree, for lack of a better example, and then build a hardware platform around that thing where they just license out the hardware.
The problem is developing for it, as it was explained to me, is not a small matter. It's not
Right.
You either develop for this stuff, or at the very least, you build in a Rift compatible mode, an Oculus compatible mode. But even that is not easy to. They explained it's a lot of work to map it to the way that Rift works.
And even at the most base level, if you look at something like the ability to turn your head independent of where you're aiming your gun, then that changes the balance of every first-person shooter ever made. So that's going to change.
Yeah, it's backward compatibility
Like,
is going to be a big. Games are going to have to be developed specifically for this.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're the only ones doing it. It's like the iPhone. There was released when capacitive touchscreens were ready, and when you could pack that hardware in the same thing in that form. Valve is working on something similar.
Right.
Other companies could. I mean, the latency problems of the past are not something that just the Oculus Rift got over.
Right, they have a head start, but there will be other products that are
the
similar.
challenge, and I guess they'll find a way to deal with this, is that the best sales tool for it is just 2 minutes with it on your face.
Yeah.
And I think whether someone buys it, I think Apple or Valve or Microsoft or Sony or someone like Google should buy this and use all their muscle to kind of get out there. Because what it's going to take is, I think they should put kiosks everywhere. Because I understood the promise of it. I saw no end of people coming away from demos going, this is amazing, this is fantastic. It's like, it really does work. It's like nothing you've experienced. I go, yeah, I'm sure it's great. But you put it on and you go, oh, wow. Like, you can't imagine what I was saying to Cliffy was, it's interesting. Like, part of the reason why the previous virtual reality stuff has seemed crappy is because we understand what it's supposed to be like. And then we see these implementations that fall short.
It looks
of
like the Lawnmower Man, not in a good way.
But it's not that this thing matches our expectation for what we think it's going to be. It's actually better than like the actual real world implementation of it. It exceeds what your brain thinks it's going to be like. And when you put that thing on and you're really looking around and you really feel like you're in this other world, It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and at least in the 10 minutes I had the headset on, at no point did you lose that kind of like it. Frequently, you'd lose the head track or whatever, and then you'd be like you'd have to look up and to the right to be looking straight ahead and stuff like that. That didn't happen to me at any point during the demo.
But the idea of like, if it does get properly supported, and I so seriously hope that it does, because I think it deserves all the success, like a fully realized MMO type worlds running in that unit. I mean,
Yeah.
there are going to be real life Reg Barclays out there, people that will never want to leave.
Yeah.
That's good. 10 years from now, we're going to be talking about like surrogates, people that just never leave their house anymore, or the Ready Player One guys that just have no interest in the real world anymore.
Yep.
This thing has the promise of that.
yes,
It's nuts.
Agreed.
Anyway,
Yeah, so it's good.
it's incredible.
Dev kits are supposed to ship before too long. I haven't looked
Pushed
at
back a couple. They're supposed to ship in March, but
They were supposed to ship in March, but I think he said June now.
And the other thing, they're focusing on. They see this as a games tool right now, but the applications beyond that, whether it be like training,
Medical.
military, medical stuff like
Robots,
that,
drones.
It has all kinds of crazy applications.
I'm looking at the last update right now. Basically, they said, "Oh, Ernie Klein visited their headquarters." That's weird. The Ready Player One guy.
Well, yeah, because I'm sure he would have loved it because it's exactly the kind of
Yeah,
thing that he
it's-
was going on about.
It's his wheelhouse. I can't find the update with the schedule.
You are
but
right,
anyway.
by the way, that like the pixelization, you can see that they're computer graphics, but it almost doesn't matter.
It's a low-res panel.
Because the immersion of having the world spherically envelop you, it feels so real that the fact that the graphics look fake
And that will
doesn't
get
really
better.
bother you. Yeah, and obviously the fidelity is only going to get better.
right. I mean, what they said is that game developers and artists will have to put bigger assets, better assets in there, because when you get up to a texture, you'll be able to up close to like a character face.
Right.
You'll be able to notice all those models.
And
much,
weirdly,
much
it's
better.
when it's actually, even though I knock 3D all the time, when it's in this spherical, like all-enveloping way, 3D actually works much, much better. The 3D effect works really, really well.
because you're moving your head and your eyes. And I mean, they've talked about going forward how eye tracking could be a thing that would work into it. So not only are you wearing goggles and moving your head for movement, but where your eyes focus will be where the game sharpens and gets more detail.
Yeah.
And
you gotta
then
remember as
motion
well,
control and all that stuff.
when you're looking at traditional 3D, whether it be on a cinema screen or a TV, it's a 3D effect, but still on a two-dimensional plane. Whereas, again, when it's spherical, when it's all around you, the fact that everything is fully 3D just seems to make so much more sense.
Yeah.
And even though it's a cheap panel right now, they don't know if they're going to move to a 1080p panel in the final consumer release. It's a cost issue, so they'll figure it out.
Right. I mean, as higher resolution panels are available, you'll see higher resolution.
But this thing is really portable as well. I mean, you could take this, it's not heavy, it's not, and again, this is just their demo model. I imagine
So-
the final industrial design, they'll be able to slim it down even further.
The dev kit is $300. I don't think people are going to buy this instead of a computer monitor. You're still going to get a computer monitor for your desktop.
It's too low resolution for typing and stuff.
So this will be a complement. I think $300 is a fair price. It's like buying
instead of Team Fortress.
If you have a 27-inch monitor or a 24-inch monitor, and you want to have the option of getting a second 24-inch monitor for $200,
Yeah.
or spending a little more and getting an Oculus Rift, go. If they stay $300, who knows?
Yeah.
And they didn't even have sound running in this demo. You put like directional headphones on as well, and you get that added to that. It's like sensory deprivation, but you're in
just
this
good
other place.
headphones. Honestly,
Yeah.
you don't even need the directional nonsense.
Good noise isolating.
Speaking of small boxes, you could hook this up to. You saw the piston box.
Yeah, I didn't even know what that was.
Xi, Kai,
XI3.
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 I was wandering around the gaming hall, which I said was kind of like a little micro E3.
Yeah.
It's like Kensha.
It
Well,
is the Kensha of Southside.
no, because it's like the main hall of E3 or PAX or whatever, because it has Nintendo and Alienware.
Really?
and all
Nintendo
the,
was there?
Yeah, they had a big booth.
Wow.
And they had a big tournament esports stage playing League of Legends, and it looked like PAX or E3 just shrunk down.
Okay.
And they had a few big exhibitors
Firefall there?
Yeah, it has to have Firefall, right? Otherwise, it's not a
Yeah, it doesn't count as PAX if it's not Firefall.
But they had the XI3 thing there, and I'm familiar with the concept of small form factor PCs, but this thing is crazy small.
So we saw that first, in 2010
Long
maybe?
time ago.
Yeah. It looks like they've gotten smaller since the first time we saw it, right? I obviously didn't go to CES this year, but you saw it there, right, Norm?
I think it's about the same size. They just upgraded internals. It's like they use
It's like
low power APUs.
I'm trying to think of something comparable in
mobile
size
equivalents.
to it.
It's like 4 cans of Coke.
So
not even that.
No.
Not even.
It's not
no,
even
it's smaller
that.
than
like
that.
you think of one of those like cubicle Kleenex boxes. It's smaller than that.
Yeah.
It's-
It's like if you took two Apple TVs and put them on top of each other. That's
Like
basically
three Apple TVs.
Three Apple TVs, or
Yeah.
it's like that big. It's really small.
But so you wonder how much power it has, and
Yeah.
it's supposed to have a low power draw, 40 watts idle. We're talking about the hardware specifics first, and the more interesting stuff is their deal with Valve and what the controversy is over that. But the hardware inside is AMD CPU, AMD graphics, 7000 series equivalent, and it's supposed to be a real PC. Has a really cool mSATA Max solid state.
It's hard to believe there's a full, even a low powered PC
And
in this tiny box.
They're doing pre-orders, $1,000 for their entry level.
Whoa.
Which is,
Well, no, wait, hold on. So they have they have PCs available right now, I believe, that are
Yes.
they're not really games rigs, but you could use them as like an HD PC.
They're
or
integrated
like a small
graphics
desktop
machines.
PC.
Okay.
The Piston, what they call the Piston,
Yeah.
their Steam box, which will be more games capable, is not coming out until later in the year, but they are taking pre-orders on it now, and it starts at $999. But you can if you want it to be really capable, it's going to get closer to $1,500.
and then really
So-
capable just means more storage.
and obviously, for that same money, you could probably build an even more powerful machine. So you've got to really value
Yeah,
the small size. But I mean, like I said, it's tiny. It's smaller than the Kleenex box. It's real small. They had demos of it where they had TVs where it was bracketed onto the back of an HD TV on a flat screen, so you never even
but you're
see
not
it.
going to really do that.
And they had all kinds of different. They have like a blinged out gold casing and different
Yeah.
metallic colors and stuff. It's nice. But the smallness of it, it's so small. It is kind of a gimmick.
If I'm spending that kind of money, I would rather have a machine that's a little bit bigger and more capable and upgradable.
Absolutely
I
more
think.
capable.
Like look at the machine we built last week, or that's up on the site yesterday. That cost $1,500, and it has a $1,000 video.
It's a
card
bit of a
in it.
novelty. And
I'm sorry, it
especially-
cost $2,500.
It's a bit of a novelty. I can see it being a great gimmick for like LAN parties and things
Yeah.
like that because it really just does fit in your pocket.
because that LAN party market is really tearing up the sales charts.
But for the mainstream, it doesn't matter, right? It's like once the thing is sitting there, like if the Apple TV was 50% bigger, I wouldn't really care.
Right,
It's nice that it's as small as it is, but I know it just sits there.
You don't move it. You don't take
Yeah.
it from room to room.
It's invisible.
It's
after
a
you've
nice,
been
it's
there
a
for
nice
week.
conversation piece. But if I'm going to spend that kind of
Right.
money, I'd probably
So-
want something a little bit bigger. That's not just more powerful, but actually parts I can swap out and maybe keep it
Yeah.
up to
And
date.
parts you can swap out is the thing that they're saying. That's why their system is unique because it's modular. But they make all the modules, so you still have to buy it from them if you want
Right.
to upgrade later. The difference between the $1,000 version and the $15,000 or $1,500
That $15,000 version better be real
it's just
good.
storage. It goes from 128
So,
to 512.
so what I wasn't able to figure out, again, because there's no one version of it, you can customize it somewhat, and I didn't get to look
Yeah.
closely enough at the specs. But I would be interested to see what the game, how the games version compares to a PC you could actually build for the same
They
money.
really want to avoid that. So you can do a direct specs comparison. I think it's a 3.2 gigahertz AMD APU with 7000 series AMD graphics with
Right.
384 cores. That's like the equivalent of a 7850, 77.
So it's a
which is
$200 card.
which is pretty decent because the great thing about playing PC games for your TV is you're going to be locked at 1920 1080. You
Yeah.
actually don't need that much power to make games
don't.
look good at that resolution.
But you
No.
also don't need to spend $1,000 on a system to do that.
no, I think it's going to be for people that have a lot of money and want like a vanity conversation piece
Right. And the big thing for
because it's crazy small.
Yeah, but
it's
I
called
don't think-
Piston because they're calling it the first Steam box.
Right.
And at CES, they had that press release on the very first day of CES saying that they had to receive a investment from Valve, and they're working with Valve to.
They
release
implied
this.
strongly in a way that Valve never corroborated that they are the Steambox provider.
And then at CES, Valve had meetings to show that they were going to make Steam boxes with a bunch of other companies, or let other companies, hardware makers, make their own Steam box, and then have since said that they're working on their own Steam box, which will be ready in 3 to 4 months.
The
in prototype.
the key to this is not making a small PC because clearly we can do that now. Even if something was twice the size of the Piston, it would still be very easy to set down on a tabletop and have it plugged into your TV. And
Right.
it's,
As long as it's like cable box size or smaller.
Like if you think about the Piston as the size it is, you can imagine something like the size of a Mac Mini that would actually be really powerful
Yeah.
for the size. That's not the problem. The reason why I took my PC back upstairs and unplugged it from the TV is I still don't have the mouse keyboard solution.
Mm-hmm. And they want
great
people-
I enjoy playing many games on a controller, but if mouse keyboard's available, I'd much rather play Modern Warfare or whatever Team Fortress on with a mouse.
And that's what Valve's doing.
SimCity is going to need a mouse.
Right.
And I don't know what the solution is yet. I presume
A mouse-
Valve is working on some kind of hybrid control. They need to come up with something because that's the real problem.
I don't think Valve is doing a hyper controller. I think Valve is doing their own Steam box, which is a hardware solution, and I think they, unlike the Xi3 guys, can sell their box at lower cost because they're also a game publisher. And if that box just runs Linux and just sells you Steam games, they'll make you all the money. They'll make all that money back in Steam games.
They're looking What Valve's trying to sell is games that use controllers at this point, and I'm sure that
For
they
living
have some
room.
sort
That's
of.
too limiting, though.
Yeah.
There are so many great games where we, as PC gamers, we'd rather use the mouse and keyboard.
Well,
I don't
are
think-
there?
I don't
though,
think.
really?
I don't think Valve
SimCity,
is. No, I don't think Valve
Diablo,
is just trying to sell.
Any MMO,
Yeah.
SimCity, any RTS.
I don't really want to play SimCity anymore. We can talk about that later.
We'll get to that, I'm sure.
So you're full-on gamepad.
I play a solid 90% of games that I play on a gamepad in the living room.
But if that's the case, then you may as well just get a next gen console, which is going to be
Well, I'll probably do that
which is going to
anyway.
be as powered as a fairly powerful PC. Everything's actually built with the controller in mind. May as well just get one of
Yeah,
those.
but
It'd be much cheaper.
Okay, so here's the thing. Think about what Valve is doing with the Steam Box. They want to engage the
With
traditional
their Steam
the
box,
traditional
or,
gaming
wait,
environment.
Specific. What are you talking about?
I'm
Are you
talking about what market is Valve trying to get by building an inexpensive way to play Valve games from Steam on your TV.
Okay, so
they're
you're
trying to
saying
take
their
market away
hardware-
from Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo.
That's only if their Steam box project or their concept is low cost, which we don't know yet.
Well, okay, I'm going to go ahead and tell you in a world where, in the world that we live in today, people are going to have a hard time selling consoles for $500. Something that is essentially just a console for $400 or $500. Like look at how Nintendo's burned up the charts at $300.
So you're saying if Valve wants to be in the living room, in
Yeah,
a
it
way
has to
that-
be cheap.
If Valve wants to be in the living room in the way that traditional PC gamers are slowly moving toward, but more console gamers are already in,
Yeah.
they have to be very.
it has to be an
relatively
inexpensive
affordable.
piece of hardware.
And if they're selling a PC that won't run Windows
Right.
because Gabe Newell is very anti-Windows, runs Linux, then it will be less of a computer.
You're not playing Dishonored on that because there's no Linux version of Dishonored. You're playing
Or
Antichamber.
it'll be less of a computer
and
in the way that we're used to in terms of checking email and browsing the
I
web.
would say it's not
and-
a computer.
I don't think you can.
It's just a game
the
playing
Linux
machine.
version is nice, and it's great that Steam is supporting it. But I don't think you can really be serious about.
I think
PC
Valve
as a gaming
is-
machine without Windows on it.
Well, so then there's two other ways this can go. If they think that if they think that normal people are going to buy Windows, buy the box, buy Windows, put Windows on the box, then they have to give away the box for free because Windows is going to cost $100.
Right. Obviously, one of the ways you
Or-
make these things low cost is you ship it with Linux.
Yeah, but that worked awesome for netbooks. I mean, that was a complete debacle for netbooks. Something like 40% return rate on netbooks that were sold with Linux. Normal human beings do not want to run Linux. So either you have to completely hide it, like you do with, say, Android and all the other stuff that runs Linux and is sold in the store, or they have to literally be prepared to say, okay, here's where you put your Windows key in, download this, it'll reformat automatically and come back up as Steam.
I don't think
with
Valve
this.
can build a box and take a loss on selling hardware if that box will run Windows and people can just buy the box and not run Valve stuff.
Well, so the way Valve sells it and takes a loss on hardware is that they say buy $300 worth of Steam bucks and you get the box for free, or buy $500 worth of Steam bucks and you get the box for free.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't understand. The only other thing that I can think is a possibility for the Steam box is that it is literally just a network streaming box to roughly like something you plug in the TV that's the equivalent of Project Shield. So it's basically an HDMI endpoint for
Wi-Fi
games
streaming on your
streamed from your desktop PC.
I think that's much more likely.
If I had to guess, I would say that that's a $99 box. It has a USB
Yep.
port on front, so you can plug your Xbox controller
And
in.
it's some controller
Yeah.
that Valve has made.
Anyway, whether or not it's a realistic thing, I don't know. But I remember thinking that it's the central gimmick of that piston is that when you see it, it's like, wow, that is crazy small.
Yeah, but $1,000 machine for your living room is not something that's going to expand the Steam market. It's to sell to people like you and me who already have.
And again, I would
see the
rather
value
I
of
would
that
rather
in the living
spend the
room.
money for something a little more upgradable. And
Yeah.
again, it doesn't have to be that. It's unnecessarily small because they've made that the gimmick. That's the sizzle factor.
And it's
But-
not. It wasn't.
But again, if you're never going to move
design.
it, you might as well just invest in a
And,
long HDMI
and it
cable.
is, and the problem is the whole beauty of the PC is that it can evolve. And this is, I'm pretty sure that the architecture of it is pretty static. I don't see how you can get in there and upgrade.
They have an
this
upgrade
thing.
path, but it's going to be expensive.
It's video card memory only. This is the same conversation we had about this thing 2 years ago, literally 3 years ago now, probably, when we first saw it at CES. So
Yeah, I liked it though. I like the gold chassis, like the C3PO version of their
Did
chassis.
you see
is really
the
cool.
case for that Lloyd brought in?
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
That one. I mean, it's a little bigger in
was a little
person than you think it is because it's not like one of those shuttle PCs
Mm-hmm.
where you can like the frag boxes. But it's definitely a little more stout than a mid tower.
it would sit under your desk really
And it
nicely.
has nice handles on top.
I went and looked for ITX 1366 motherboards after that because that's what my CPU is now. It turns out there aren't ITX 1366 motherboards,
Mini ITX.
mini ITX. Do you want to talk about? Did you go to the Tesla Edison panel?
No,
Oh.
I didn't go to any panels.
Anything else weird?
Let me
Any
see.
celebrity sightings?
Let me think. Oh, so I went to my friend's film screening. He directed a movie and it had its premiere at South by Southwest. That was
Okay.
cool.
Do you want to give a plug, or was the movie?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's called Hours, and it stars Paul Walker.
It's about Virginia Woolf.
No,
Oh,
that was The Hours.
oh, my bad.
This is just Hours.
Okay.
And
HOURS.
HOURS.
Okay.
And it stars Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious movies. He actually was sitting right behind me in the screening. It was kind of
Oh, cool. Is he
And-
tall or short?
You should
about
turn around and give him a fist bump.
About normal. Yeah, that would have gone down well.
I like the direction your franchise is going in.
He was a nice guy.
What? Batshit crazy?
No, heist movies.
Oh, it's gonna.
Yeah,
be
I'm
something
looking
else
forward
for
to
the
that.
next
We got to
one.
go see that. I want to
Fast
see.
Six.
I'm in for that.
GI
And G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe
I'm
and
up for
Fast
that
Six.
too.
I'm also in for more Hasbro movies after the Battleship watchings of the last few weeks. I'll take all the Hasbro. I can
I'm
take
genuinely excited for both G.I. Joe and Fast Six. I
That's-
think those movies are going to deliver.
The trailer with Bruce Willis is fantastic.
Oh yeah, I mean
Well, the
he's
movie's
the
been
original
delayed for a
Joe.
year.
Yeah.
He's Joe.
Yeah, it's great.
He's the guy. That's why they're called Joes.
He's the
It's because
oldest
Bruce
toy.
Willis is so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that both those movies have The Rock in them too,
that's right.
as a star. Yeah.
What does The Rock play in GI Joe?
Uh,
Is he Sergeant?
badass
Sergeant.
dude.
The Rock. They made a G.I. Joe after The Rock.
yeah.
Okay, moving on. I guess it's it for South by.
South by. Tell us about the candy dispenser.
Oh yeah, that was funny. So when I was walking around the expo hall, it's like there were whole aisles that were just dedicated to various like social media apps.
Like Foursquare, Instagram.
Yeah, and
down to-
it really is like walking around
La
IKEA
La.
because all the products are called like Flurm and Blongle and just whatever stupid name they've been able to register as their product name.
Blurg.
And there's very few combinations of vowels and consonants left for social media apps.
Yeah. And you don't want something that's like 8 characters. You want 5.
Yeah, you need something short. Yeah, which
I
is
want a
actually registerable.
Social media app that took all the E's that the other ones did not want.
Yeah, yeah.
E.
Anyway, I saw a lot of those. Flinger and Zappo and just so many names. There was one thing there, and they had. I was kind of peckish. I'm like, I could eat like a little snack right now, and they had these food dispensers at this booth, and I guess a lot of these places have like free cookies and things to try and get you to come over and talk to them about whatever their stupid app is, and this one had these dispensers. Of like peanut butter cups and Skittles and M&Ms and different things. Oh, maybe I'll just go get like a free
It's
handful
like
of
one of
M&Ms.
those, like you put a quarter in, you twist the.
Yeah, pretend. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I'll pretend
Okay.
to be interested in this guy's product for like as long as it takes me to get a handful of M&Ms and I'll leave. But what it was underneath each little dispenser was a hashtag that was associated with whatever this app was, and if you tweeted the hashtag, these dispensers which were hooked up to the internet would dispense a handful of whatever candy.
Well, that's kind of a clever hack, but it's a real lame promotion.
I mean, it was
anyone tweeting
basically-
would
I mean-
release candy.
And I immediately thought, like, you're turning people into laboratory rats, right? It's like if I press the red button, I'll get some candy. I'll get.
Do you remember what the hashtags
gratification.
are? Can we make the machine just start exploding candy?
Well, I don't know if it's still there, but I don't remember what the hashtags were. No.
So the end around for this is just to spam somebody with messages that doesn't have very many followers.
Yeah, and just make the candy come out endlessly.
Yeah, just explode.
And I
candy
really wanted a
constantly.
peanut butter cup as well, but I figured I'd just rather buy one and keep my dignity than like stand there tweeting out these hashtags so that I can get a fucking handful of free Reese's. Pathetic.
So
They should have hash browns.
Hash browns?
Hash browns.
Oh, yeah.
I have
Hashtags are hash browns.
I have a hash brown discovery.
That's what I want is like a handful of hot hash brown. Hot grease all over my hand.
I discovered something wonderful in the freezer potato section of Fresh and Easy the other day. For Fresh and Easy carries the right brand of diapers, so I was there buying diapers at like 10 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night
As you
right as they
do.
were getting ready to close. And as I was in there, I was like, I want some tater tots tonight. I love a good tater tot. We're having hamburgers. Let's make some tater tots with the burgers.
Okay.
And as I was looking in the freezer aisle, I realized that the thing that looks exactly, they had things in there that look exactly like McDonald's hash browns, like the ones that come in the sleeve.
Those
that
are-
are
Yeah.
like,
I like
it's
those.
the best hash brown, right?
Yeah, molded into a little like
They're,
the
they're
shape
not called hash browns.
kind of like the shape of a Galaxy S3.
I think they're called. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's
It's
a little
the
bit,
hash
little bit smaller actually.
That would be a good case for the Galaxy S3. Actually, on
Makes
the
it look
back
like
it
a
looks
hash
like you're
brown?
holding a McDonald's hash brown.
I think that's a great idea.
I'm going to mark it.
I'll
that.
take that out of the
Man,
podcast.
you're full of good ideas this week.
I've got so
10%.
many. I've been having some good ideas this week. I might have to do a Kickstarter eventually.
I think that's a good idea.
I've got some brimming with $1 million ideas.
Yes. They taste just like McDonald's hash browns,
Wow.
thus removing any need for me to ever go to McDonald's again.
It is the only reason to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, because I can make a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. I can make an egg McMuffin.
They don't.
And
but
the hash
but
brown.
do they have fish McBites? You see, McDonald's
Fuck
is always
off.
staying one
I'm
step
just turning
ahead.
you. I'm turning you down.
But you don't go to McDonald's anyway. You just
no,
won't
but
go on principle.
The
So
one
what
thing I
difference does it
missed was the hash browns.
make? Oh, so now you can just eat these ones.
I make English muffins and I have hash browns.
Average price of things at McDonald's over the past 10 years has gone up by about 10%, 10, 12, 14%.
So they're beating inflation. I mean, they're not beating inflation.
They're not. Absolutely not.
McDonald's
a
margins are
cheeseburger used to
good.
be 89 cents. Now it's $1.14.
When my mom was a kid, she could get the whole thing: a cheeseburger, a hamburger, fries, and a Coke for 25 cents. I think is the story she
No
told.
way.
One of the problems
25
is
cents?
One of the problems is the dollar menu, where the barrier of what they consider like
Yeah.
a dollar item doesn't change, right? But the value of the dollar does change,
Just
and
the
so they're
$5
always
footlong.
kind of fighting that inflation. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they can reduce the items on the dollar menu
And,
make
and
them
they're actually
crappier.
putting more and more items on it. There's
you know
they add stuff to the dollar menu all the time.
a filet o fish
Yeah. What about
at
it?
not sale price. I mean, you never buy anything from McDonald's that's not like it's a deal day or something.
Yeah.
Like 2 for $5 or something. A filet o fish is $4.
But you can on the right day get 2 filet of fishes for $4.
Hey, here's McDonald's original menu. Do you want to play
Like
this
what
game?
they had on day one.
Like when it opened.
What could you buy for $1?
Oh, you could buy everything for $1.
Everything.
A
like-
pure beef hamburger was 15 cents.
Back
a
in the day.
tempting cheeseburger was 19 cents.
Wow, 4
a-
cents for a slice of cheese.
A
That sounds about
triple
right.
a triple thick shake was probably real cheese then too, not cheese food. A triple thick shake was 20 cents. Golden French fries, 10 cents. Thirst quenching Coke, 10 cents. Delightful root beer, 10 cents. Steaming hot coffee, guess.
5 cents.
A nickel.
10 cents.
Oh,
Wow,
wow.
same
Expensive.
price.
Full flavor orange drink. Note that is not orange juice. That is the bug juice that they used to sell it at I don't think they sell that anymore at McDonald's, but they used to. That was 10 cents too. And milk, 2-cent premium, 10 cents. 12
So you
cents.
could walk up to McDonald's,
They called it
$10 bill, throw it on the counter, and say, "Just give it to me."
Well, even today, you can if you shop expeditiously, you can walk out with a shitload of food for $10.
You can make it
don't
rain
think
at
so.
McDonald's.
If you come
for
right,
$10.
if you come right off the dollar menu, you can. I mean, that's a lot of food.
You can get all the fish McBites you're caring
I
to
think
eat.
$10 goes much further at Costco than it does at McDonald's.
Well, no shit, because you have to cook that food.
Yeah.
No. At the Costco cafeteria.
Oh, pff.
No, I don't think.
The
that's
$10
true.
challenge at Costco is difficult.
Are
to
you
take
looking
up salad.
at
No,
satiatedness
because
or
the
calories?
McDonald's bottom end price is $1. Costco is the $1.50.
But you get a hot dog and a drink.
I tell you where you could actually make it go even further is IKEA.
Horse meat meatballs?
No, but you know their little section where they have like the cinnamon rolls and the pizza slices and
Oh,
the hot dogs.
downstairs, yeah.
That's all $1.
Really?
You can get 2 hot dogs for $1 at IKEA.
Horse dogs, you mean?
That's not here. That's not in America, dude. That's elsewhere.
Do you think they don't truck those meatballs in from Sweden?
And I don't even care.
No, neither do I. I'm just saying. They used to call it a square meal. The fries, the Coke, and the hamburger. 35 cents.
Yeah, 3
So
square
was it a
meals
Happy
day.
Meal? It's a square meal?
Well, it wasn't. They didn't. Remember, this was before the Big Mac, before the quarter pounder. This was the things that they had on offer in the hamburger department were a
Quarter pounder.
hamburger and a cheeseburger.
And that's why we still love In-N-Out, because that's all they have.
Yeah.
It's a very simple menu.
Well, but with a bunch of dirty secrets.
Yeah.
Mustard.
Apparently McDonald's has a secret menu as well.
Well,
No.
you've-
No,
you-
no.
You know, have you not seen the Ghetto Big Mac video? It was on the airplane the other day.
What's the ghetto Big Mac?
The Ghetto Big Mac is where you go in and you order a double cheeseburger off of the $1 menu.
Okay.
And then you,
Oh, well, you can always
you add and
assemble
remove
anything you
stuff
want, yeah.
until you make it a Big Mac.
Wait.
and it comes out like 35 cents cheaper or $1 cheaper.
You remove
Yeah, but
stuff?
wait, how do you get the bread
middle,
piece in
yeah,
the
you
middle?
want the middle
You
bread
say
piece is-
you order it with an extra patty and an extra bun, and then the lettuce and tomato and the lettuce
Oh,
and the
that's
special
not the
sauce.
same.
No,
And the cheese.
The bun that's not that's sliced in the middle of the Big Mac
Yeah.
is what makes the Big
That's,
Mac.
That's
they
what
get, like,
makes it.
You can request that particular kind of bun. You can choose your own adventure your way to a Big Mac.
No,
From a double
I would rather
cheeseburger.
just order the Big Mac.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to do
This
the
isn't as creative as the mythical. You get the half breakfast sandwich and
That's
half
impossible.
No
lunch
assembly
sandwich.
required is
You
the-
assemble
You have to
that.
hit the line just right for that to even be possible.
because
You
all
can
the
do
food
that, though.
disappears
Yeah.
at 11 a.m. or 10 a.m.
10:30.
10:30.
That was actually the last time I went to McDonald's. Was
The
when I walked in at
McGriddles.
like 10:32 and had the Billy Madison experience. I was like, "What? I want a fucking egg McMuffin, you asshole!" And they denied me
Madison?
that.
No, Doug Benson.
No, the Adam Sandler movie with the kid. He went in and had a blow up in McDonald's because he came in 5 minutes after the breakfast menu.
I don't know why they just can't be like Jack in the Box where you can get both the menus are on all day.
Because
Yeah, why is that?
Because Jack in the Box is great.
No. Why is McDonald's close to? Is it because they run out of microwaves?
hold on. I just want to take a moment and note that is the first time that has ever been said in the world anywhere when you weren't stoned. The person that said it wasn't stoned.
That's not true. You don't have to be stoned to like Jack in the Box.
I think you
It
have to be stoned
definitely
to like
helps.
Jack in the Box.
I mean, their whole new ad campaign. Their late
there is
night
a very
menu,
clear target.
That they may as well just call that the stoner menu.
Right. Walk to Jack in the Box. To
Yeah.
consume
What is in
this
their
food.
menu?
It's like it's just a late night box of like, here's a burger, here's some chicken fingers.
They've taken
box?
what they call half and half fries, so it's like half regular fries and half curly fries.
Oh,
Yeah, see,
Oh,
he's responding.
wait. The half and half fries are not such a good. I like the buying curly fry or buying regular
like the
fries,
bonus fry.
and you get like 2 curly fries, and you feel like you stole something away, or the other way around. Half and half just feels like.
So Jack in the Box has taken the Taco Bell idea of fourth meal
Right.
and exploded it into a menu of death and destruction.
Yeah, I mean, literally, the TV commercials like some guy on his couch talking to a puppet.
That puppet
saying,
the puppet's
"You want my
imaginary.
food?"
Yeah, well, of
The
course,
puppet's
because the
just in
guy's
his head.
stoned off his ass.
Right.
They can't come out and say that, but it's so clearly what's going on.
Yeah, it's like a little Jack puppet, but it's not really.
Yeah.
It's like a baby Jack.
I gotta watch more TV. See this commercial.
It's always on during South Park, so they know their audience.
They
yeah,
do.
they're very smart. But yeah, I don't know why more places don't do the breakfast menu all the time.
I think it has to do with the oil in the fryers.
Maybe.
Because once you put the fillet of
But,
fish in there, you're not going to be able to make a hash brown.
but how
out
can
of it.
Jack in the Box do it?
Well,
They
they,
actually-
they have a shitload of fryers at Jack in the Box. Look at that menu. Everything's fried.
I suppose.
I bet you could get a bun fried at Jack in the
I
Box.
think there's an economic, psychological reason they do it.
You think they're trying to drive traffic in by 10:30?
Yeah,
Maybe.
I
don't
don't
know.
think it's a.
I mean, there
logistical
is. I mean,
reason.
it's conditioned behavior, right? Like if the McRib was on the menu all year round,
Yeah.
we wouldn't care. If Girl Scout cookies were available all year round, we'd care less.
You can
It's
get
the fact
Girl
that
Scout cookies
It's the
year
fact that it's a. I know, but they're not out on the street. They make a deal
That's
out of
true.
it every year, and that creates an event. People go, "Oh, it's Girl Scout cookie time." Well, the McRib is back, and you want it, even though you don't really want it.
Girl Scout cookies are $5 a box.
$2.50.
$2.50 a box.
$2.50 or $3. Four. No, that's right. You're right. You're quite right. Four.
I almost had a blow up at a Girl Scout the other day. She was like, $4? I was like, really? $4?
Do they go up in price?
Yes, every year they go up in price. Why?
I don't think you're allowed to have a blow up at a Girl
No,
Scout.
I had to check my actions. I was like, I have a daughter. I can't do this anymore.
They dress up. As
I don't
the
think you can
cookie
do it.
also
I don't
now,
think you
too.
could have done it before either. It wouldn't have
I
been
could have,
acceptable
but
either
it would
way.
have. I mean, I'm not
The
saying.
beard would make it extra hostile.
Yeah, well, we talked about the beard last week.
Look, I mean, look, $4 for a box of cookies is not that crazy.
If you
When
got
you're
a full
expecting
box,
two-
if you get a full
And
box
the,
of
mon-
cookies,
and the money's going to a good cause.
I have no problem for the good cause.
I like the good cause. I'm just saying, I was surprised by the $4.
And
It
the
took
thing
me
is,
aback.
the cookies, this is the thing, this is the beauty of it. The cookies aren't that great. People go, oh my God, Thin Mints are the best. They're just kind of okay.
You know,
Thin
you
Mints
can,
are the best.
you can get Keebler's version of Thin Mints, then they're better. They're called grasshoppers, I think.
But I do like the Dr. Lech. The caramel ones are really good.
Yeah. My weakness at this time of year is the Easter candy because the Cadbury mini eggs are like one of my all-time favorite forms of hard candy shell with chocolate inside.
They're all right.
Not the cream
I don't
eggs.
like
Those things
Easter
are
food.
foul.
Peeps and all that stuff. I'm not into any of
Peeps
that.
marshmallows are gross. In
Oh, by the way, I
general.
will give them a plug. So I ate at a fantastic restaurant in Austin called Perry's.
Are you getting paid for this?
No, it was just it's one of those things where it's really good. So you want to
Okay.
tell people about it.
It's kind of expensive, but I enjoyed
It
when I
wasn't
ate
even
there.
that expensive.
Well,
I mean, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But it's not like crazy times.
no, it's not like French Laundry.
Go to Perry's in Austin and order the 20-ounce pork chop. It's fantastic.
Was there bone in on that, or was that
It was
all
bone
meat?
in, and they carve it at the table. And they
that's
carve
nice.
it into these different sections, and oh my god, it was so good.
I had some good food last week too.
Oh yeah, you were on vacation
I
last
was
week.
on
Norm.
vacation. I went to Portland
Of course you did.
and Seattle. I was
Of course
in,
you did. It's like going to Mecca for you.
It was. I binged on Portlandia and then went there, and I was like, oh, this feels very comfortable. And it was.
I mean,
how were your people,
Austin
Norm?
feels a lot like that. I think Austin and Portland are both
Austin was the original
are both
Portland.
kind of
except
competing
I
for like
bet,
it's the capital of the world.
I bet people in Austin aren't as nice as they are in Portland.
No, they're
people
pretty
in Portland
nice.
are so nice.
Are
Like,
they?
Unbelievably.
I
went
was always
into a
told-
hat shop. Of course, I went to a hat shop.
Why don't you go to a
Did you
hat
put a
shop?
bird on it?
I went to it was across the store where they put birds on it.
Oh, okay.
On Hawthorne, and it was
Right.
cool because I was like, oh, I could like see I would like stand across the street and there'd be a store for clogs and then clogs for kids,
Oh my
and you could
God.
almost see the text in the bottom saying Southeast Burnside or something. Like,
Yeah.
walking
Yeah,
in a hat
Go to
okay.
the sh-
Yeah, I got it.
Go to the shop where they sell one dress.
Yeah.
oh, I would like a tiny hat. Do you have a tiny hat here? And then the girl's like, no. I'm like, yeah, I want it for a taxidermied gopher. And she goes, oh no, but here are 3 places you might be able to find it.
Yeah.
Did you buy a hat for Winston?
I could not find a hat for Winston, but I went looking for, and then people were.
I was always told in Portland,
I didn't think he was a
That-
gopher.
I was told, just as a rule in Oregon in general, that when you're visiting there, you shouldn't tell people that you're from California.
No.
Because they don't like people from California.
They're trying to keep us out. I'm from Tennessee.
So I've
it's
always
not
been
really a
told
problem
not to
for
do
me.
that.
You're from England. You're good.
Yeah.
Norm's from California. He
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah,
Should we talk about tech stuff at all?
if we must.
I mean,
Well, we talked about the Rift quite a bit.
That's
and
true.
the X13.
Some stuff
Xi3,
happened.
whatever they call it.
Andy
X13.
Rubin, the guy who founded Android and then was bought by Google to make Android the OS of Google and has run Android for the last 5 years at Google, is no longer in charge of Android at Google.
Okay.
He's going on to do other secret projects.
Within Google.
Well,
Within Google.
They
Okay.
didn't specifically say what he's doing.
They
Moving on to other projects is what Larry Page.
Larry
said.
Page said he hoped his next moonshot. He wanted his next moonshot.
Okay. So he Android is mature enough that it doesn't need the guidance of Andy Rubin. That's one way to look at it.
Well, and they
Another
have-
way to look at it is that so many different parties within Google are so invested in Android now that they want maybe a little more control.
Well, and there's
With the
I mean
lifer?
they brought Marcel, what's his name, in Duarte from Palm to control like UI stuff, and he was responsible for a lot of the post honeycomb UI changes. So I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's a more mature product.
The
It's good for him to
other
move on to
big
something else.
thing that was in the Larry Page public note, was that Android now has 750 million activations. That's a fucking lot of
a lot.
activations.
I still don't understand activations as a metric.
When they sell a phone and
when you reinstall your phone, when you
No,
restore
no.
a phone.
No, when they sell a phone and when you log in
Yeah.
and create an account, that's an activation.
That's an active. But
I gotta
does that
say-
count every time you restart?
I see
when you
Android.
reboot.
I see Android a lot in the wild these days.
I-
And I still think that the iPhone is the most ubiquitous single phone, but I see Android a lot, and it's mostly S3s. I mean, the S3 is
Well,
so obviously
we should
emerged
talk
as like
about-
the other
yeah.
big phone.
And that's what Samsung has done. And their advertising spend is bigger than Apple's. And everyone talked about how at the Oscars, Apple had ads that really fell flat. Those movie ads at the Oscars.
How to make your own movie ads?
Yeah, and then
Oh, yeah, I
Samsung
didn't
had
like
those.
The Tim Burton one?
Yeah, no, not the Tim Burton one. The Samsung had the Tim Burton ones, and
Yeah.
people actually.
Oh,
really
you
liked
mean the
those.
Apple ones? Okay.
Yeah, the Apple
Yeah.
ones. People
What was
thought
that,
were
lights, camera,
unspectacular.
action? Yeah, I didn't love those.
Yeah.
Samsung did the unicorn
Yes,
super
the game
Yeah.
unicorn game
with
thing.
with the guy from 30 Rock.
Yes, to get the Josh from 30 Rock.
Josh from 30 Rock.
And also,
Yes.
they have like a new mascot. They have a Jared now, kind of. The kid who, if you watch movies in the theater,
Like
he's the guy
Jared who has AIDS.
they have a
What?
spokesperson type.
South Park joke. Sorry, I apologize.
But
to
if
everyone out there.
if you go to movie theaters and you get the pre-trailer ads, there have been for the past past year a GS3 ad where the guy like talks to you. He's like the insider,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in all these ads also. But basically, Samsung's been spending a ton of money, and you're right. Samsung,
Apparently, they have a $5 billion a year advertising budget at Samsung.
worldwide,
ridiculous worldwide, but makes
Yeah.
sense.
that's
But
$1
worldwide,
per person.
It is the
Most-
number one selling phone.
almost.
The GS3
Yeah.
sells much more, and Android overall sells more than iOS does.
Yeah, that's not
Right.
surprising.
Not surprising. But the thing that Samsung did right is that, unlike they did with the GS1 and GS2, where they had the Galaxy brand, but also tons of different phones across all different providers,
Yeah.
it's one phone now.
Yeah,
And-
one phone to rule them all.
And even though Samsung has Note and Note 2 and different sizes of those. Those are the quote unquote tablet brands of Samsung. In terms of phone, where the money still is on the contract, it is the
What is
GS3.
what?
and soon, GS4.
Samsung's muscle aside, and their $5 billion marketing. I'm sure that's a big part of it. Beyond that, is there any particular reason why the S3 has become the flagship Android phone as opposed to anything from HTC or any of the other phones that are out there?
Well, missteps.
Marketing is incredibly powerful.
Yes.
Marketing and missteps from the other companies.
Yeah.
So if you look at last year, the GS3 was a refined version of the Galaxy Nexus, which was late 2011.
Right.
And GS3 delayed a little bit, released last year, and it was a really big phone. First of all, the screen was
You
really
mean
good,
physically big?
big,
Yeah.
and people are finding out that big phones sell really well.
I got to say, there was a guy on my flight that was sitting, across the island just ahead of me, so I could kind of see what he was doing. And he had a Galaxy S3, and he was watching videos on it, like TV shows.
It was something his wife had beamed over to him.
Yeah, but I didn't see any of that nonsense. But I got to say, the big screen is very compelling for like watching video content.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It made my iPhone screen seem kind of small.
Really good 720p screen.
Yeah, great screen.
Again, with the advertising, all that NFC bumping stuff that they've been really pushing.
Sexy videos from your wife.
But
That goes a long
Do you
way.
think that really moves the needle? That bumping stuff.
Advertising makes a huge difference on this kind of
But
stuff.
that in advertising, and that in people say, "Oh, that's different. That's innovative." Definitely does. And then the fact that they were pushed in all the carriers heavily.
Right.
Right. So that was the default high-end Android.
So they
phone.
brute forced it a little bit, but they also made what is by all accounts a pretty good phone.
Well, they
They did.
made good deals with the partners, with the carriers.
Yeah.
They did a good job advertising, and they made a good phone.
It is definitely looking like the reason why I think the iPhone, or just when you walk around on the street, always kind of seemed more dominant than Android. Than the pie chart actually. The pie chart actually is much
Yeah,
closer.
75-25 probably
Right.
at this point. 20.
But when you see all the iPhones basically look the same, right? When you see an iPhone, you see an iPhone. When you see an Android phone, they come in so many different shapes and sizes. You don't think to put them all together, but they are now starting to kind of coagulate into the ubiquitous shape of the S3.
4.5 inch phones, basically.
Yeah, and they stand out
4.5
because they are
4.7,
pretty big.
Yeah, and then also the other Android phones last year, HTC's two big HTC One X and One S phones, didn't do so well because
Right.
there was no one phone for those users.
And
to-
Samsung has been super aggressive with its marketing. Like,
Right.
They've really put their full weight behind it.
So this year we have all the companies. HTC has only one phone, one flagship phone,
And it's
HTC
called
One.
the HTC One. Yeah.
Samsung has their one phone, the Galaxy S4, which we don't know about yet because we're recording this before the GS4
I mean,
is
that's
announced.
that's very
tomorrow.
close. That's tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow
Okay.
morning.
So that will be their big phone for the year, and Sony has their one phone, the Xperia Z, the Z because it's the end.
That looks great. The design of that
Reviews
phone
have
looks
not
great.
been so good for that phone. They
but a very attractive looking
yes,
phone.
yeah, absolutely. It has the goes in water and
Yeah.
and I think that's a smart move on all the phone manufacturers' part. Like who cares about Android fragmentation? Hardware fragmentation is what hurts people.
But I read a couple of things. I read a thing about the Galaxy S4 and how much money Samsung's going to be put behind it. I mean, clearly they understand now they're in a very competitive position, like in the sense that they actually are now super competitive with Apple. They're kind of neck and neck with Apple in terms of like the single phone that's the most popular, and they're clearly willing to bring all their resources to bear. In order to ensure that they stay competitive. There's
a lot of
also
we can talk about market share, but there's also a couple of reports about usage, and we've heard this many times before, how people on Android phones maybe don't use overall as a whole across the entire spectrum of the 750 million people who own Android phones or phones sold, don't use their phones as much as people who do their iPhones in terms of downloading apps and watching videos and buying stuff, especially like Google Play versus the iOS store. The App Store probably makes a lot more money than the Play Store, even though
the market is smaller.
Yes, even though the market is smaller.
It's like attach rate on console. They're selling more software into the iOS phones than they are into the.
And I'm
Android
sure
phones.
there are plenty of people with entry level Android phones who don't do more things than Facebook and Twitter.
right.
So there
video.
were a couple of rumors yesterday about the Galaxy S4. I'm trying to find the specific story because I meant to put it in the links and I forgot. But basically, one of the things that has been touted as a rumor is that the eye tracking for the scrolling, which seems dopey,
I heard that.
not going to happen in the U.S. probably.
Again, I don't think we should talk too much about it because by the time people listen to this,
That's
all that
fair.
stuff
Fair enough.
will-
Okay.
will be out.
Yeah. It'll be out.
And the thing this year is 1080p phones for Android. Xperia Z, presumably Galaxy S4. I can probably likely say that HTC
that's
One.
no surprise.
They're all 1080p phones.
So it gives them better than Apple pixel density.
400 DPI.
Yeah, that's good.
But from the reviews of those phones already out, whether it's from the Motorola and
The HTC.
the HTC and Xperia, the battery life is not great. It's just average.
Right.
And I think I would rather have a phone with great battery life and 720p than a phone with 1080p and average battery life.
Because, I mean, can you really tell the difference at that screen size
You
between
can probably-
720 and 1080?
I would think you can probably tell the difference between 720 and 1080. I doubt you can tell the difference between, say, once you get above it depends on the size of the screen, right? If you have a 4.3-inch phone that's a 720p screen, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. If it's a 5.2, if it's a 4.7-inch phone with a 720p screen, more pixels is probably a good thing.
I saw a very...
But the video you're streaming, and if
No,
you're
no,
talking about watching
agreed.
video, it's going to be 720p low bitrate anyway.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in web page rendering and stuff like that. And the benefit of going higher resolution on Android is that unlike Apple, where they do the bullshit pixel doubling thing to make all the text really crisp, you actually get more screen real estate when you say look at a web page. So you can see the full web page and then tap in on the column. So that, I mean, I see benefit of going to
I got to
higher
admit,
screen resolution.
the more I look at the S3 and phones like that, the more I do like the slightly bigger.
Yeah,
screen.
and I mean, frankly, at this point, Android is well beyond the shit just works test that I need for a phone. It's much more. It's getting much more compelling every day. The only thing that keeps me on iOS at this point is the kind of app situation.
I saw a very interesting
Kingdom
article
Rush,
on a smartphone blog about how the S3 was essentially designed by lawyers, in the sense that the whole design philosophy of the S3 is basically to avoid getting sued by Apple.
Nice.
If you look at the iPhone trade dress, which explains a uniform rectangle device with uniformly rounded corners, and there's as much
Square,
as much
flat.
real estate on top of the screen as there is beyond, and blah blah blah, and the app drawer and all that kind of stuff. Point by point, if you look at the Galaxy S3 design, it's all carefully designed to not hit any of those.
Go
bullet
right
points.
around those things.
That's why it has the slightly kind of ovoid shape. It isn't uniformly rounded. There's more space at the bottom than there is at the top. And a lot of people will tell
back
you
isn't
that's why the phone is kind of aesthetically unattractive, because they had to avoid doing all the things that Apple did to make their phone look symmetrical and neat and tidy and nice. That's why something about the S3 looks slightly off.
Have you seen the HTC One? From its front, it has all the same characteristics as the
Yeah,
iPhone.
but I don't. But I think Apple doesn't.
Oh, they're small fry.
They're not on Apple's shit list the way that Samsung are.
That is true.
Do we want to talk about HTC more, or are we good?
I mean, we talked about like the state of Android. Google I/O is coming up in 2 months.
Do you
We
think
recorded this on Wednesday. It sold out in 49 minutes.
I know
this year.
that this. I know this is all going to be out of date really quickly, but I am just curious. Do you think the S4 is going to be a big upgrade or an incremental upgrade from the
I think
S3?
a big upgrade. I think they're all big upgrades.
Yeah, I mean, you posted something yesterday that I thought was really smart, Norm. It seems like Samsung's on the TikTok kind of Intel CPU architecture increase now.
But the S3 was a big step up, right? So doesn't that make sense?
well,
The
but
4 would be not
the
as
tick
big?
in that case was the Galaxy Nexus, and the S3
okay.
was the
Okay.
talk.
All right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see.
I think, and the timing is all because everyone expects Apple to release phones in August to September timeframe or announce their phones, and so that's why all the Android phones are being announced early in the year.
Right.
Just get ahead
This
of
is
that.
the time that Android phones are usually have been traditionally announced too.
So announced starting at Mobile World Congress
And CTI,
then- and being released in April summer-ish. It's gonna be tough. I mean, if Apple comes out with just a 5S this year, I think a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure it'll still sell well because people are still buying iPhones. But a lot of people will come out and say and dismiss it as nothing special.
Yeah, I think especially now with all the competition from Samsung, people are expecting them to do something big.
Well,
I think just another S, like we boot, because for the 5S they're talking about what thumbprint security
that's-
and
I don't think that's
NFC,
real.
but neither of those sound that exciting.
I think the big change in this release is going to be OS. I mean, I think that at this point, if you were working on iOS for Apple,
iOS
then-
7?
then
S stands
then
for 7?
Johnny Ive has been wearing your ass out.
Especially on the S bump, it's often the free OS upgrade that's more interesting than the new handset. So, and especially again, if we're talking about like Forrestal out and Johnny Ive in, it would be nice to see like a real. I personally have no real problems. I find it very easy to use, but it's at a point where a really big refresh would probably be welcome.
And you know what? That's the thing with both Android, even lesser extent of Android now, but Apple and Android. we're at a point where we're very happy with our phones. Like
It's
what-
harder and harder to imagine what the next big thing is in phones, right? Because at this
Well,
point,
it's a mature market.
we're just kind of iterating and fine tuning.
It has matured much more quickly than anybody anticipated. I think the
you
next
know,
big
it grew
thing
very
is
quickly, so that's why it matured quickly.
is the stuff that connects to it,
Yeah,
right? The watches and the glasses and all that, all the silly stuff.
yeah.
Are you on board with Google Glass? I don't think we've talked to you.
I
about
haven't tried it. I mean, it may, maybe it's one of those things. Well, you put it on, you go, oh wow. But I don't know. I mean, I'm already hearing about it getting banned in a lot of places because it's just
that. It's banned in one bar that wanted the publicity
But
for it.
but the creepy applications for it are, you can see
Guys,
how it'd be freaky.
I'm going to ban it right now. It's banned from the tested office.
I've banned it as well. See, now multiple places have banned it already. That's a news story.
Right. New York Times, get on it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Mars.
Oh, by the way, before we forget, I don't know if you have it on your list, but do you want to talk about Micah's little internet
It's on our
moment in
list.
fame?
yeah. It's
Okay, good. We should get to that because it's
Definitely.
cool.
Yes.
It's
probably
cool that we know that
the
guy.
most inspiring story this week.
Yeah, definitely. It's great.
It's the next.
We'll get there.
It's two down the list.
Okay.
Curiosity. Half of Curiosity's computers had like a fault and were restarting and going through a whole process. But right
Now-
before that happened,
right, yes,
Right.
Mars could have supported life.
absolutely, Mars had conditions that once would have been conducive for life.
But again, this is not really how like great science fiction movies start, is it? It's like we've determined that Mars once in the distant past may possibly have had the
Aw,
conditions.
now
to
if you
support
imagine
life.
Q,
Like, that's not like a big
Q
deal.
sending Picard back to Mars and stepping in the goo.
Oh no!
Yeah. See,
Nothing's
that's-
happening.
It's foot goo.
That's you right there, and the big wormhole above.
So that's good, but it's not.
It's not-
It's not earth shaking.
No. The Lake Vostok stuff in Antarctica is kind of neat, although they're back and forth again on that. So you know the story on this, right?
No.
It's ice lake that has been separated from the world for something like 3 million years or something like that. It's a massive amount of time.
Forms of life that previously we did not know about.
So much like the kind of stuff that they found at, say, sulfur vents at the bottom of the ocean in very hostile environments. They found new forms of life that maybe they were stuff that we previously imagined. It's unclear. The Russians are taking more samples, it seems like.
So there could be like woolly mammoths under there. And stuff?
No. It's all bacteria.
Yeah, that's that's exciting for sure. But like from a grand perspective, it's
You
like,
know,
it's just
we
bacteria.
often say, "Oh, science is even
It's
more
a savage
amazing."
land,
This is
Norm.
actually even more. The truth is crazier than fiction. It's not really until dinosaurs start coming out of the ice and like running around Los Angeles. It's not as interesting as
Guys,
science
they
fiction.
found a predator temple that when you put a human sacrifice down there, alien eggs hatch and xenomorphs are
That's what we want.
formed, and then the predators have to go.
Yeah,
and fight
I think
them
so far. I think
as a
so
rite of
far, science
passage.
fiction is still more interesting.
Also, Colorado is going to get fucked up somehow in the sequel. I don't know how that worked.
Right.
Colorado.
Didn't the sequel happen in a city in Colorado or something?
I saw some good Sci-Fi Channel original movies in my hotel room.
Oof, that's a
I saw one called
grim,
Ice
grim
Twisters.
statement. Ice was.
I saw one-
Hold on. You say the title, and we guess what it's about.
All right.
Is it the
I
day
saw
after-
one called Ice Twisters.
So it's about tornadoes that blow chunks of ice at you, and you get the flesh flayed from your body.
Kind of, yeah. Basically, what happened was there was a government program to try and create clouds in areas where there was no moisture.
Perfect.
They were trying to
Okay.
like bring rain to arid areas.
That's already more thought than I could.
But
believe.
they had created, but they had spun up these tornadoes, these twisters that actually had
Sam,
like
you get that?
like ice shards in them, so they would chop you to pieces when they came through.
What
yeah.
could possibly go wrong with fucking with the weather?
Ice twisters.
This is science. Okay, give me another one.
The thing I like about science fiction movies, sci-fi movies, is that you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty much there in the title.
It's Pulp Fiction of our time.
I mean,
It's
I
the Pulp Fiction
haven't
of our
seen it
time,
yet, but I
not
think the most
movie.
perfect one is, and again, you can guess the movie, is one they have coming out called Sharknado.
Is it a tornado filled with sharks?
Yes, that's exactly
One
what
shark
it is.
or many sharks?
I
It
think
has to be many.
multiple sharks.
Yeah, one shark.
One
is no
shark
threat.
doth not a Sharknado make.
Yeah,
You
It's
need
like-
multiple sharks.
It's like a piranha movie that features one piranha.
So
not
wait,
very scary.
Here's the chicken egg question: which came first, the tornado or the shark?
Well, I don't know. I think you'd
Did
have
the
to watch
sharks
the movie.
work together and spin
Genetically
up
engineered sharks.
So I
deep
saw-
blue sea.
as a way
Anyway,
to mobilize?
So, I don't know. You'd have to see Sharknado.
Okay, what else did you say?
So I saw Ice Twisters, and again, that's pretty
I
easy
got
to
it,
figure out.
yep.
I saw one. This one's maybe not as easy. I saw one called Ice Road Terror.
Terror or Terra?
Terror.
Huh. So it's
Terror.
let's see. Some sort of what a cryptozoological monster that is on a road between Vancouver and Fairbanks.
So kind of, basically, there were so you know ice road truckers, right?
Yeah.
So out in Alaska, they had some kind of mine out there, like a mineral mine, whatever it was that they get.
They dug too deep and found the Balrog.
And then they have to drive on these ice roads to get that stuff back to civilization from like out in the middle of Alaska where they're mining it. And I guess they were doing some kind of mining, some fracking kind of thing, like deep dynamite down in the earth to like get these minerals up. And they released what basically looked like a big Komodo dragon just came out. And
So it's Rain of Fire,
started eating
basically.
people.
They
zoomed
But it was
in
just
on a
one.
Komodo dragon.
It was one bad CGI monster that came out of the ground and started eating people out in the wilderness.
Iditarod Monster Edition.
Yeah, and that was Ice Road Terror.
Sounds great.
I saw one called Blood Monkey.
Monkey.
Wow, that sounds like
Norm, you want to do this one?
Blood Monkey sounds like diseases. It sounds like
like Outbreak?
because that was like blood from monkey.
You know that monkey was Marcel from Friends in
I
Outbreak.
did not know that.
Yeah.
That's
Same
that's a lot of range.
The testing on monkeys and monkeys develop a taste for human flesh.
So weird to see him in a sci-fi movie because he's like a legit actor. F. Murray Abraham played
Really?
this crazy scientist.
Who's F. Murray Abraham?
He played Salieri in Amadeus. That's probably what you'd know him best as.
Okay.
He's been in a lot of movies. I'm trying to think of like a shitty movie that you would have seen him in. He's been
You're
in,
in rare form today, Witta.
he's been in a few like crappy Hollywood movies. He was the professor in Finding Forrester. That he's the English professor.
Okay. All right.
What else? I'm trying to think of like an action movie that
He,
he's been in.
according to IMDb, he was one of the Fruit of the Loom guys that was dressed up as a fruit in early Fruit of the Loom commercials.
Oh, well, I think his career went.
there we go. All right.
You know, you've seen.
He was
Amadeus,
on
right?
Homeland.
Okay, well, he's Salieri. That's what you would know
All
him
right.
as. That's his most famous
So
role.
what was he in the?
So in this, he played like a crazy scientist who I guess had been like genetically engineering monkeys to become use them as soldiers or
Yes.
whatever. One of those kind of fucked
Excellent.
up programs they always have
On
in these
track so
movies.
far?
And it was kind of like Congo. They had gone out into the jungle, I guess,
love
to
that.
track down these monkeys that had escaped. But the monkeys were now like they'd become super intelligent. They were setting traps.
So it's Secret of Nim.
No, it's
And
like Planet
wasn't-
of the Apes.
It was a bit of Rise of the Planet of the Apes meets Congo, kind of.
Okay.
With on a low
They
budget.
shot it in Vancouver in the forest.
They run around the forest a lot. And this one I was able to follow less because I only kind of caught bits and pieces of it. But that was the basic idea.
All right. I don't know how we got here.
Yeah.
I saw one called Flying Monkeys, which I think had been timed. You know how like they always time these things to come out with the movies that are in theaters.
Wizard
Yeah,
of
of
Oz,
course.
yeah.
So like Wizard of Oz is out right now, so they
Yeah.
bring out Flying Monkeys.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I don't think there are flying monkeys in this Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, they are.
No, yeah, there's
Really?
one. Sure,
There's
there
a talking one too.
Oh, I like talking monkeys.
personality.
That little robot lady is scary.
Yeah.
Poor
So
son.
those were and I saw another one called. There was another one where they had to blow the moon up. It was kind of like Armageddon, but on the moon, and the moon I guess was going to. Oh, the moon was fucking up the Earth's magnetic field.
No, without the moon or magnetic fields or tides. and
Well,
stuff
something
would get
bad was
fucked up.
happening, and so they had to blow up the moon. They had to
can't
go to
lose the
they had to
moon.
go to the moon and drop like a nuke down into a fissure and blow up the moon.
Yeah. He played Ruafo in Star Trek Insurrection.
Ah.
Yeah, the guy that was always stretching his skin out.
Yeah.
See now, Norman. Now
I
see-
told you.
Now
I
he's
knew I
totally
could get
not-
it.
Immediately.
I knew I
See
could
his
go
face.
down far
There we
enough.
go.
Yeah. Finally, we're back.
Life on Mars.
Yeah, life on Mars. I think we've gotten as far as we're going to get with
Well,
that.
no life. Conditions for life on ancient Mars. Sulfur.
So
Neutral
basically,
pH, not acidic.
total
in a bed
re-
stream.
total recall is true. It just needs Arnold to go up and make his hand in the right shape for the hole, for the hand hole.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Let's talk about Micah. I assume this is Micah. I didn't know this was the Micah story.
Yeah.
The Donkey Kong
he's
thing.
the Donkey Kong dad.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so the story made me happy before, but now it makes me super duper
it's one of
happy.
those stories where like you pitch it to any news editor and they're going to say, yeah, let's run that story because it's a great.
It was on the
it's a
Today
great-
Show.
It was on the Today Show. It was on. He was on All Things Considered. He was on
Yeah.
NPR this week.
We should get him to talk
he did
about it with us.
He did an AMA on Reddit. Yeah, we should have him as a guest next week. I'm sure he'd
That's
love
a
to
great
do it.
idea.
So, for anyone who's been asleep under a rock for the last week, because I think you would have had to have been to not see this story, our mutual friend Mike Micah, who has been a video game developer, stroke programmer for many years.
And a collector, like he has one of the
He has
an
one of
amazing
the he has
arcade
one of the
collections.
great video game archives.
Yeah.
all the old systems, all the old games, all kinds of Japanese oddities and alternate versions. And,
I think when Jeff went over there and saw his collection, he was impressed.
it's an Aladdin's cave.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like you try to trick and say like, well, I bet you don't have the Magnavox Odyssey. He goes, well, which I have the original prototype. I got the Japanese. I got the one that was only released in Albania for like 2 weeks.
Is this the one in like a secret compartment?
Yeah, they call it the Gimp Room because you go down
Down the
a
ladder,
trap
yeah.
door down a ladder into this Aladdin's cave of just awesomeness. I wanted to do a documentary about it.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I've been thinking about doing.
I'd contribute to the
video.
Kickstarter.
Keep meaning to do it, and then I
Yeah.
never find the time. But I would love to do it like a 30 minutes. You know what it looks like? You've seen James Rolfe's room, right? The angry video game nerd.
Yeah.
That massive basement. It looks like that, only better.
What we should do is go shoot a series. Go shoot there.
You should go there
and then use that to do a
Now,
Kickstarter to fund a documentary.
and this is the perfect time to do it because he has all this notoriety.
Yeah.
You should go to Micah's house and do a little shoot around.
Hook
his
it up,
game
Gary.
room. He would. I'm sure he'd love that. He's
Yeah.
always. I've had an open invite to do it for a while, but you guys actually have like.
we have the stuff.
You have
the
Joey and like
technology.
real
Yeah.
editing facilities. You could make a good version.
All
of
we
it.
need is Joey.
You should go there.
Yeah.
So anyway, basically, Micah, he's got kids, including this beautiful young daughter of his, and she was playing Donkey Kong, and I guess she asked her dad, as young kids often ask questions. They have no reason to know why something can't be the way it is.
Mine just poops and screams.
She'll get there.
Okay.
But
I think it was explained that he asked because in playing Mario 2,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
play as Princess.
right.
Yeah. So she was playing Super Mario.
She said,
Brothers
"Why
2.
can't I play as the princess and rescue Mario?"
Well, it's not the princess. It's Priscilla.
That is the douchebag answer.
Yeah.
Because she's not a princess. It's Pauline.
It's Pauline.
Pauline. Sorry. Not Priscilla.
And he said, again, it's one of those questions where, like, yeah, shit, I have no good answer. I don't know how to. I don't know how to answer that to you. Just because in video games, men are the heroes, women need to be rescued. That's a terrible thing. You don't want to tell your daughter that.
No.
So Micah, who has some considerable skill as a programmer and a hacker, took the Donkey Kong ROM and went in and fucking reprogrammed it.
So you downloaded open software that
Yeah.
just modders use, Talayer Pro, and you can, if you have the ROMs for NES games, and Talayer Pro works for Genesis and NES and all that stuff. If you have the ROMs, which you should acquire illegally, you can extract the.
But again,
asset
Micah is
files.
one of these guys that actually has all the
Yeah.
original.
He has the
ROMs.
complete run of NES.
He none of
NES
the emulated
games.
shit. He
Yeah.
actually has the original hardware,
Exactly.
the original PCBs.
Yeah.
And so he took it and he plugged it into. I don't know how he did it.
Did he burn it back onto the ROM so it played
No,
on
it's-
the
he
NES,
played on
or
a
did he play it
PC.
on an emulator? Okay.
On emulator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he plugged it into some shit and did some magic. Like this is as technical as it's going to get.
Yeah.
I'll get a little more detail.
You might know a bit more.
So
Okay.
when you extract the files, what he found was
So was it an arcade ROM that he had, or like an NES?
No, it's
an-
it's the
so
NES
So he had,
game.
he had an NES ROM.
It was NES to ROM for Donkey Kong, and if you take out Mario, what he found was that Mario was split up into a bunch of grids, so it wasn't like one Mario sprite.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he had to create all the animations by hand again.
Right.
So and also resize the character because the girl Mario, Pauline, is taller than Mario, and so he created a new Pauline that would be the size of Mario. Swap colors out. Create animation because it's not just walking side to side; it's climbing the ladders. You know, Mario had to have new animations, so when Donkey
Using the
Kong-
hammer.
to take to him up to the next level, all that stuff.
Death.
Yeah, everything. To be a very convincing simulation. The YouTube
It looks
video of
great.
it is
So yeah, so he
amazing.
put a YouTube video up and showed people what he had done and created a little Facebook development diary. I mean, he did the whole thing in like 6 hours. It was a very quick project.
Yeah.
overnight. Yeah,
And did a great job on it. And again, because it's Donkey Kong and because it was just a nice thing to do, it just had a good human interest. The internet just lapped it up. Like it went viral very, very quickly. And to the point where it was getting picked up by legitimate news outlets. He was interviewed on local ABC 7 News and NPR. And who did you say?
It was on the Today Show.
It was on the Today Show.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, when you see it there, then they say nerd dad who's into video games, blah 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 blah,
Right.
collector of video games.
Right.
But yeah, we'll have to track him down.
It's funny, isn't it?
That would
Because the
be a good video.
mainstream approach was like kind of this is the NPR piece was actually very affectionately done. I thought it was nice. But yeah, on the outside, it's like, oh, nerd dad does this for his daughter. In the internet world, like the nerd what, it was just hero dad.
yeah.
This is just the coolest dad ever.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, it was a great thing to do.
made me feel super inadequate.
And it was
so
a
thanks,
very, very news-friendly story. You could see like why this kind of caught fire the way it did. I asked Mikey yesterday. I went into his AMA and I said, "Which other, what other games
the
do you
next
think?
game?
What would you do next?" And he said he would love to do Karateka or Karateka, depending on how
The
you wanna
original
pronounce
one?
it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't want to talk about.
So
that
I
right
tagged Jordan Mechner in his post, and we'll see if maybe Jordan would be willing to like hand over some source code or something and help him do it.
now. Oh, cool.
But it would be
Inside
great to
scoop
see.
on that.
I would love to see like a compilation pack of like Princess of Persia and like all the games, but gender reverse. That would be
Yeah.
again. There's maybe a cool little project.
Tomb
there.
Raider.
Yeah, Larry Croft.
Yeah, good old
It
Larry.
can go both ways, right?
Right.
Men's rights.
Right, and I guess you could have Leisure Suit Larry, Leisure Suit Laura.
I thought it was funny that
terrible
somebody
idea.
pointed out it was funny that he ended
The
up doing an
worst.
AMA on Reddit, which is quite often one of the most misogynistic places on the internet.
Well, did you see the thing a few weeks ago where Shatner discovered Reddit and then also tried to make Reddit a decent
Nice
place
place.
on the internet?
And I supported him, but
Admirable
but again, I mean, you really are like
You're swimming upstream, man.
Well, what's the guy that tried to turn back the tide?
Richard the
Canute, King Canute.
Oh, okay.
Although he did it to prove that there are bound. He didn't actually think he had so much kingly power that he could go turn back the tide. He did it to demonstrate to his followers, to his subjects, that there are things that even kings cannot do. He failed. He knew he would fail.
That's a terrible
Unlike
message.
Superman, who turned back time and just saved Lois Lane.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
well.
I don't approve of that either.
Coriolis effect would be all jacked up if it started the Earth
But
spinning.
anyway,
the
so
other way.
Mike's now become internet famous and probably won't be returning my calls anymore. But you should, again, especially now that you've got this Donkey Kong hook that he's actually kind of famous.
Yeah.
You should capitalize on that and go and do a GIMP room expose. I
think we should just,
It's like MTV Cribs, but for geeks. I mean, it's pretty great.
Like I said, let's do a short bit and then Kickstarter a documentary.
I think it's
a great idea.
Absolutely.
We talked about the Piston already. I'm not going to get into that anymore. MakerBot Digitizer, Bree Pettis announced at South by. So there are literally a ton of kind of open source hacky projects that let you create a 3D model from pictures or lasers or taking like 123D capture, I think is what it's called, is an Autodesk piece of software that I think you run on your phone, or you can import pictures from like a real camera or whatever, and it lets you take a whole bunch of pictures from all sides of a model of an object and then create a 3D mesh from it. It works as well as if you take the time to do it right, it works pretty well. If you kind of just stand there with a bunch of and shoot by hand, then it's not going to be great. There's also some Kinect software that you can use and like wave the Kinect around. I've had demos of that done. I mean, I think we've all probably had head scans done with the Kinect at this point. And you've even seen some stuff like that in like EA games where you stand in front of the webcam and you give it the two pictures and it maps your head on the
and you come out looking like a burn victim.
Horrible monster.
Yeah, just a horrendous horror nightmare funhouse mirror version of yourself.
So at South by, MakerBot announced that they're working on the Digitizer, which is basically a 3D scanner that they say is going to turn 3D printers into a copying machine for things.
It's basically the same technologies, lasers and photos, size of a bread box.
on a record turntable, basically. I mean, the promise is interesting. It is a thing that it is a hard thing to accomplish. What they're saying they're going to try to do. So we'll see. We'll keep informed on that. Yesterday or Tuesday, I guess now, Google Chrome. There was a leaked Chrome video on YouTube that a leaked Google Now video on YouTube that showed the iOS version of Google Now. Google Now is the smart card thing where it says.
Yeah, I like Google Now.
Google Now is great.
So there's an iOS version in development?
Word
Very
on the
likely
street.
coming out very soon.
Yeah, and likely also a version that will work with Chrome on your desktop or Chromebook.
That's the one I want more. Because as much as I love Google Search on iOS, is the fact that it's not natively integrated into my phone. I mean, it's okay. I open the app and I search, but I don't want to have to open an app and then have Google Now. Google Now should be passive. It should give me notifications, and on desktop in the corner of my browser, which I have open all day, I would love to see pop-ups. Oh, I recently searched this thing. Oh, here's how long it'll take for me to get there if I want to go.
So I jailbroke my iPad a few weeks ago when the jailbreak came out, and did just like two things to it. Basically, I turned on the high-speed JavaScript engine for Chrome and all third-party browser apps. And I set Google Chrome to be the default browser. But the other thing that I looked at doing and haven't done yet is there's actually a hack that lets you set the Google app voice search to replace Siri, which is
that I would be interested.
Well, so I looked at it, and there's some pros and cons. So the pro is that you can use real voice, and it works really well, and it doesn't suck like Siri does. Mm-hmm. The con is that you lose the ability to like dial with your voice and stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing. The big problem is
it's not baked.
It's not baked into the OS the way that Siri has its fingers in all aspects of the phone.
So with this, you can set the button to mash, and then you have to just tap the button, I think, to dial.
Okay,
which is a little bit weird. But anyway, it's like there are workarounds for that stuff, and it is not impossible to get what you want.
Is it worth it?
Jailbreaking?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't hesitate to do it on an iPad. I'm still a little reticent to do it on my phone because my phone is much more vital.
Share that experience.
There's nothing really to share. It's like the browser's faster. Pretty much is that.
How much faster is it?
It's
recommended?
It's the same. If you did not notice a difference in performance between Chrome and Safari, which is I think about a 40% improvement in JavaScript heavy stuff. So like the Gmail page, the desktop Gmail page is much faster now. Aside from that, you kind of don't notice. The big change is the default is that when I click on a link in Mail, it opens in Chrome now. That's the.
I think that's something people don't know about.
No, it's okay, easy enough. Rat hackers. I did not see this story. Norm.
Oh, there's a big story on Ars Technica. It's not like super new, but it was terrifying nonetheless.
Rats are scary. I saw one when I walked to the car the other day by the train
rats
yard.
are remote access tools.
Wait, what?
People who are on hacker forums who use tools specifically designed to get access to other people's computer through malware. And there apparently are entire communities of people who try to infect other people with spyware and malware so that they can access their webcams.
Wow,
and
that's not.
And
Oh, yeah,
spy
right,
on
that's
and spy on women, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the creepiest thing is that in many of these forums, that behavior is reinforced by the community culture,
Yeah.
and they trade what they call slaves with each other, like access to people.
So like if there's a particularly attractive girl, then they trade that around like it's
That is
that's really gross.
creepy,
Yes,
I
for
don't
money.
like that.
Wow.
And there are even things where they of course post pictures, which is inappropriate and illegal in some cases.
I'm gonna go put tape over my webcams.
I was going to say, like, I would sell like a little plastic flap
thought-
or something,
I
like a
thought-
little flip. Because the thing is, if you're going to hack it, you're also going to hack it so the light doesn't come on, right? So
They
you never
can't.
know. Oh,
they
really?
Can't. So that's the thing where they can't do.
Oh,
And
really? They can't do that?
They call that the holy grail of rat hacking.
There's got to be a way to do that.
Nope, they can't. What they can do,
it's
they
usually
can,
if the sensor's energized, the light comes on.
they can open, they can tap into your files and go to system directories. What they will try to do is use remote administration tools to check which model computer you have because they know certain computers do not have the light.
Right.
Certain laptops.
And clearly, most of the time, it's possible to not even notice the light is on.
yeah.
I don't know. The light on my webcam is really bright.
Again,
is
it depends.
really-
It depends.
that
on
is
the,
awful.
Depends on
It-
the setup.
it is
Yeah, it's,
one- it was
dis-
one of
it's
the most
absolutely
terrifying
it's disgusting.
things and sickening things.
Yeah.
I've read. In
It
So
just
the
makes you
good
wanna-
news is
What?
there's an easy $2 solution to this problem.
Not for the microphone,
Yeah, I'm less concerned
because
about what I say.
but you're still getting a sound feed.
That's true.
It's still
Wait, what-
you're still being
no,
spied on.
The solution is to run anti-malware software and to protect yourself.
Yeah, but
and-
most people aren't going to do that.
Yeah, realistically, the solution is just to turn off the internet, guys. Go home. It's all
Just
over.
unplug.
Yeah, turn off. I have a friend who when he's not using the computer, he literally has the router on and the cable modem on a power.
You know, it's
strip.
funny how there is almost this backlash against connectivity, especially with everything that's been happening with SimCity. And, the Sony leaning so hard into the social features of the PlayStation 4 that some people, like grognards, have been kind of saying, like, I want a system or a console where it's just not plugged in. I just want to play single-player games, not have to worry about internet connectivity. I don't want to share my shit. I just want to fucking play games. There is almost this kind of regret. People now want to regress now away from being connected all the time.
The genie's out of the bottle, kids. It's too late. Let me
Thanks,
play the
GameStop.
music. Let me play the music, and we'll talk about what we've been testing because that
Wait.
fits
Not
right
want
in.
to talk about Durango.
Oh shit! I skipped Durango rumors. Yeah, we should talk about Durango.
Well, it's actually a good
Let's
segue.
talk, we haven't talked about Sony. Well, Norm and I have talked about Sony. We haven't talked about Sony with you, Gary, and I'm interested to see what you think.
Yeah, well, that actually tells you how long it's been since I was here, because I haven't been on since the PS4 reveal, right?
No, you have not, that I'm aware of. So, I mean, I've thought about the PS4 a ton since then, and it seems like okay. So, it seems like there's a couple of ways. The important thing when you launch a new console is that you get enough consoles in the market that people have paid for, that the game that it is an attractive platform for publishers to develop games on. Because if you don't have a few million people buy that console within a relatively short period of time, then Ubisoft and EA and Activision aren't going to spend millions of dollars bringing their games to your platform, right? Fair assessment?
Yeah, and those people need to be buying games too.
Right. So then the traditional strategy for that to happen has been to come out and say, look, our hardware is really amazing. We have this console exclusive, so you should buy Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sega, whoever the platform holder is. You should buy our console instead of the other. Right?
Right.
So Microsoft says, well, the 360 has online connectivity. We have a feature that somebody else doesn't have. Sony says our hardware is more powerful. Blah, blah, blah. Microsoft
Blu-ray
says,
player.
Right, exactly. With this generation, that's kind of changing. So then the other side of this is that if you're the console manufacturer, the best thing for you to do is to make the least capable, least expensive piece of hardware that generates enough initial sales for people to develop hardware for, develop games for, right?
Okay.
Because you don't want to. It doesn't do you any good at all to get 50% market share if you have the expensive machine, the expensive to build machine, when you could have the cheap to build machine and get the same 50% and sell the same number of third-party games.
Theoretically.
In theory, which is what Microsoft did this last year. I mean, essentially, Microsoft had a less capable piece of hardware,
Right.
and managed to win.
And I think that's
despite
probably
that.
the whole philosophy behind the Android console, right? I don't know how you pronounce it.
Ouya.
Is it Ouya or Ouya? I don't know.
Ouya.
Ouya.
Yeah, like the
That-
Marines say,
It's like just get it cheap, get it in everyone's house.
Yeah.
Got a big install base because it costs nothing.
play Max Payne.
Yeah.
So Sony is very clearly going after the hardcore gamer. Like that press conference is, here is a thing for people who like to play video games in their living room.
Well, it's interesting. They may still have many other features to show, but they definitely led with this is why core gamers will like this. It's
Yes.
very powerful, and it's also very connected, shareable, sociable.
So then the rumors for the Microsoft console are a little different. I mean, Microsoft's been leaning heavily into services for the last 2 years, 3 years at this point, probably more than that if I think back on it. And they're looking at things like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and HBO Go and NBC apps and all these apps and kind of media experiences to enhance your living room experience rather than just have a thing in the living room that you can play games on. Like, it was telling to me that
They've
Sony
been moving
didn't talk
towards
about
that.
Netflix.
They've been moving towards that for some
Well, I mean,
time.
that was always their goal.
The holy grail of the one living room box that does it all. But they've all been moving in that direction, but I think mostly led by Microsoft.
Well, because the thing Microsoft has been pitching for 10 years is 3 screens, PC, phone, TV. Right? They believe in a 3-screen. It turns out maybe the tablet is the third screen, but maybe that's the laptop instead. We don't really know yet. It seems really clear that they're not going to push a core gamer experience at Microsoft.
Again, I don't know what they're gonna push, but I think that if the rumors are true and what people are speculating about the next Xbox is going to be are true, that Microsoft so far I think is going to have more to offer. I don't think the core games are going to go away. There'll be another generation of Halo and Gears of War and Fables and all their key franchises will be there, but it will also do lots and lots of other things that are not game related, but are all the more reasons why you would want to have this thing in your living room.
For example,
TV.
like
So
apps.
Michael Pachter, the analyst from Wedbush, who's one of the guys that analyzes the tech business and the video game business for a living.
And in fairness, bats about 50% most of the
He
time.
sometimes gets things wrong. Like, for example, when he said The Walking Dead has no chance of winning a Game of the Year award right before we won 80 of them.
Didn't you get a BAFTA too?
We got 2 BAFTAs.
Wow. The BAFTA's the English Oscar, right?
It's the British, yes, it's the equivalent of an Oscar.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Gary.
thank
Nice
you.
job.
And we won for best story, which is very nice to win.
What was your job on that again?
I was story consultant.
Oh, interesting.
So he occasionally gets things wrong, but
Yeah.
he also gets a lot of things right. And he's paid to do this to prognosticate about the future of the business.
Yeah.
And he gave a presentation at South by Southwest where he said, here's what I think the next generation Xbox will be. And he went into a lot of detail. And he said, this is why I think it will dominate the next generation. The key fact, again, yes, it'll be more powerful processor. It'll probably be, similar to, if not superior to the Sony PlayStation in terms of the computing hardware. But the key is, as you say, services and user experience. And so,
And that's something Microsoft has hung their hat on since the Halo 2 launch, basically.
so Pacter's theory is the two big killer features will be fully baked in Skype integration. So a next generation Connect with greater fidelity. You're watching TV, playing a game. You have a Skype call coming in. Here's grandma, whatever. Bye. Everything's voice activated. The call goes away. Game or TV show comes back. Everything. That's all there.
So this Skype integration is more interesting because it's predicated on the idea that you're using this as the primary way to watch stuff in your living room.
Yes.
Because then it's always on, and you don't have to switch over,
Right.
and you don't have to get a
Right.
text first. It
Right.
says, "Hey, turn on the Xbox," or "Hey, go to the Apple TV," or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And then the other big feature that Pachter was theorizing about was a baked-in TV tuner. So you will throw away your coaxial cable, you'll plug an Ethernet cable in, and you'll get all your live TV, your program guide, all that kind of stuff will now come through the Xbox Live ecosystem and a
interface.
service provider that
Well,
they would be partnered with and you would be a customer for.
So you kind of have that now, though, because you can get on-demand stuff from Comcast and a lot of other cable
Yes,
providers.
but I
right
think
now.
we're talking
Apps are terrible.
the full suite
Well,
of
yeah.
the full suite of live programming.
And you're talking about live channels that
Right.
but
so
there's
you
no
can
coax
be, so you can be
plug.
watching live TV and still get your Skype calls come through. You can still get your friend requests, friend notifications. Everything will be integrated.
Well, and I mean, as somebody who's never really had a Comcast box, at least not in the last 10 years, I can see the value of this because, I mean, I'd much rather use the TiVo, a third-party developed thing that's designed to be good,
Right.
than the
You
shitty
think it would replace
least
the
common
TiVo
denominator.
and do DVR?
I mean, if they want my business, then it has to be a DVR.
Would you pay a monthly fee for that?
I already pay a monthly fee for that, happily.
Wow.
So it remains to be seen, but I think Microsoft is. I think sooner rather than later we'll probably see what the next Xbox is going to look like. And I think I'm sure Sony focused on games in their first presentation. I'm sure as time, there's no way they've left out all the other stuff. Netflix,
no.
movies, all that stuff will be there. I don't know. I think Microsoft is going to have ultimately when you look at the two offerings, I think you're going to see that if you love games, I think it's probably again depending on what your personal taste is, but in terms of is this what can I? Let's say I've only got one HDMI port available.
Yeah.
What am I going to plug into this thing? I think the 360, the next 360 is going to end up being more interesting.
So here's the thing to me. If I want to play games and I look at Microsoft coming out of the gate with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and a whole bunch of other nonsense
Yeah.
and another Halo, and the last Halo was okay, but who cares? I'm much more interested in buying a Sony console where they're clearly focused on games than buying another Netflix box when my console is going to cost a lot of money and my Apple TV or Roku costs $59 to $99.
But it's not like the next Xbox isn't going to play all those games. with
But again,
increasingly
you
fewer
are
exclusive
now
titles.
a dad with a baby daughter. Do not underestimate the power of that Skype camera built right into your TV.
Well, my parents have iPads, so that's the market. I'm already in that ecosystem.
But now you can just sit right in front of your TV.
I can do that with Apple TV right now too.
Skype.
Well, FaceTime and Skype for that matter.
Apple TV doesn't have FaceTime.
Yeah, you mirror it over to the
Oh,
Apple
you can.
TV.
Yeah, you can AirPlay it over.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
I mean, if Microsoft wants services to be the selling point, they have to get a real crazy price.
I think you're going to see a lot of new stuff this generation from Microsoft. Again, I don't think Sony has shown everything. There's no way that what Sony has shown so far is everything they have. It's not.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's a more powerful PlayStation with a share button. That is not and cannot be the end of it. They
very
have other things up their sleeve.
Very specific reason they didn't show the PS4 and also didn't announce any price, even though we assume
I still don't think
availability is
that.
in the
I
year.
still don't think they've figured out exactly how much they can afford to charge.
I think
for
they're
it.
going to let Microsoft make the first move on price and then react if they can.
I think very interesting things are going to happen.
If Microsoft's tying their console to services, then they kind of have to announce price initially,
Yeah.
or else the speculation is going to hurt them.
Well, and literally, if they're trying to compete with $99 boxes, they can't come out with a $400 or $300 or $250 machine.
The
It has
next
to
few
be
months,
cheap.
I think, are going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to be an explosive holiday season because I think you're going to see both of these new systems going head to
Be a
head.
good E3.
Yeah.
Be a great E3.
I'm hoping no Retina iPad Mini, so I have money to spend on consoles.
Let's not do Apple rumors.
There'll be a Retina iPad Mini. You'll buy both.
You're
there you
probably
go.
right. Boom. I'm going to play the music, and then let's talk about what we've been testing. Hey, Gary. Hey, Norm. Have you guys played SimCity?
I've played a lot of SimCity.
I've been trying.
I've played a lot of SimCity,
I
too.
played a lot of
I'm
SimCity.
supposed to be part of PC Gamers Celebrity SimCity, which so far has been
Wow,
I
it's
think,
kind of a low
largely
bar for celebrity.
largely a train wreck.
What server are you playing on? Okay, so I didn't start obviously last week. I've read about on Twitter on vacation that everyone had the connection.
NA
problems.
West 1 is where I play.
I'm on NA West one.
I'm on NAS4 since Saturday. I've never had a problem playing the game.
I haven't.
Well,
That's
I
fair.
gave up trying. I'm sure I've heard reports that the servers have stabilized a lot in the
The
last.
servers
few
are
days.
fine. The problem.
But certainly for those first 4 or 5 days, it was unplayable.
It was bad enough that they're giving away a free game to make good for their
I think they're
shitty
still
launch.
giving away.
Have they released the list of
No,
games
they
yet?
have not.
Okay.
If it's not Dead Space 3, I'm going to be pissed.
It's not going to be Dead Space.
Yeah,
3.
you don't want it to be like Buzz Aldrin's Race into Space.
No, it'll be Origin. It'll be Dead Space 2 probably.
I already have Dead Space 2. That doesn't do
Well,
any good.
Then
I
sorry,
mean,
you're out of luck.
I guess they're doing what they can. They're trying to do a make good. They finally started talking to the public in a way that sounded like real human beings, as opposed to we are aware of the problems, we are looking into it. Like, it started to get, like, they started admitting that they had egg on their face, and, like, we know we screwed up. We've got to do more. We're really embarrassed. We promise we're going to make this right. Like, I think they started to strike the right tone.
There are two conversations, and we're talking about the always connection side of it, the DRM.
I don't care about
connection
that
side of it. Well, you should, because there's also word now that the game really didn't need to have that.
Well,
DRM.
okay.
A
I do care about that.
A couple of people got into the code and saw what data was being sent back and forth and concluded that it does not need to.
Well,
be
one of the
online.
Max developers got in touch
with Rock Paper Shotgun.
with Rock Paper Shotgun and said that
Allegedly.
some of the statements made before about calculations being on the server side were overstated. Now, I
Right.
still believe that some of the calculations are being done on the server side in terms of the multiplayer, but not in terms of running your single city.
So
I mean,
I
look, this whole story, when it comes to, like, you're going to be able to teach this in PR crisis management classes, like of
Right
an,
up there with Union
of
Carbide.
an example of how not to do it.
Yeah.
because it's been a nightmare from beginning to end.
It'll be SimCity, and it'll be those
Chernobyl?
No, and it'll
3
be
Mile Island?
in terms of gaming PR. It'll be SimCity and that controller, Avenger controller.
Oh, that guy!
Oh, that guy,
The guy
yeah.
with the Twitter meltdown. It's not. That was like a guy that just went crazy and went rogue. But like this and, like Deepwater Horizon. I mean, obviously, even though people like
Jesus Christ.
No, obviously, one's more serious
Ladies
than
and
the
gentlemen,
other.
Gary Whitta.
One is more serious than the other, but the level of PR competence was about equal.
So here's the thing that's happened with this. The servers didn't work for a while, which is to be expected on an online-only game. The fact
But why though? Why should it be expected? Why can we not figure this out?
because EA
why does
hasn't
this-
successfully launched an MMO
But
since
why
Ultima
does this
Online.
happen every single time?
It doesn't.
By now, knowing that it's a problem, it can happen all the time with a company of EA's resources and expertise. Why can they not just build it up?
StarCraft came out
it-
2 nights ago and it was fine.
Because it's not worth the money.
Yeah.
But how much is this? But I bet
Well,
you that
that's
what this
not
has
what
ended.
they think about.
There's no way to really ever calculate this, but I guarantee you, what this has cost them is greater than the additional server
And
capacity.
you
would have
think
cost
that
them.
would be a lesson learned, but it's not.
But
They end up having to spend the money anyway, and probably end up having to spend more because they're suddenly booking servers at the last minute in an emergency
You
and getting
guys-
charged even more money.
You guys are grossly oversimplifying. So I talked to Andy about this, and Andy has a fair amount of experience building backends for both MMOs because he worked on some MMOs for Ubi back in the day, and doing load balancing for websites, which is obviously much simpler than the game, but that have massive traffic spikes and have require. Basically, what he said is you never really know what the bottlenecks are until the bottlenecks show up. Like, there's no way to predict short of getting the number of people that are going to come in to do that.
Is it because of sheer number or because of the type of traffic?
It's
or?
it's both. It's because you can't predict that the system is going to break in a specific way until it breaks. In many cases.
So how long was it broken though?
Well, they're patching every day. I mean, they're patching twice
How
a day.
long? I'm
sometimes.
saying how long was it broken until Saturday when it worked fine for me?
It was broken.
And what's acceptable?
So if you logged on before 5 o'clock Pacific, you could get a slot on a server. The things that they fucked up really bad were the queue system was really bad. So instead of having a queue where it says you're 4,000 in queue,
Right.
and when it gets to 0, you're in, it said it's 20 minutes or was it 30?
We'll check again in 20 minutes,
Check
and
it-
that was just horrible.
And it was in 20 minutes, you can take another try to log in, not you're guaranteed a spot in 20
Right.
minutes.
and they won't
right.
let you try logging in.
You could, but it was
Right.
mistakes. That is the worst queue system I've
But
ever
it was.
seen.
I mean, I said it earlier in the week, and many other people have said it also, that I think it is the most grossly mismanaged major game launch ever.
yeah.
Relative to the size of the game
So-
and anticipation of the game.
Yeah.
So the thing that you said earlier about the calculations happening on the server, I happened to get disconnected and I ran in offline mode for 20 minutes
totally
the other
fine.
night.
And then-
the things
and then
that
it
don't
connects back
happen, the things that don't happen are you don't get money and resources from outside of the region, and you can't pull back out into the region mode, which is to be expected.
Right.
I never reconnected, and all that time was lost.
Oh, I reconnected, and even though I had 15 minutes disconnected, and
Yeah.
everything
But
was fine.
again, I mean, this is all part of making an argument for what seems to be a growing groundswell of people saying, can we not just have the version for people like us that don't want to play with other people, that just want to have our own experience? I don't care about regions. Just let me create a city in a bottle and have my fun and not have to worry about the internet going down and just fuck you, basically.
Well, so there's some larger issues with the game that pertain to that. One is that there's no kind of like self-moderation tools. So if you have an open game and somebody comes into your region and trolls you, you're fucked. Even if it's you
So they
can
need better
have
administrative
invite-only
tools.
regions,
Yeah.
which is the solution.
Yeah.
But if you go in and jump into a region and then just stop playing, then that's going to cripple everybody else that's playing
And you
games,
can
'cause you
troll
need
pe-
all the regions.
I discovered inadvertently that you can troll people. So one of the things that happened right away in quote unquote Celebrity Sim City was you can send resources or sell resources to other cities to help them
Yeah.
out. And I got a thing saying I built a lot of garbage capacity early on because I wanted to keep my city clean.
Yeah.
And it said, hey, you have additional garbage capacity. Would you like to send one of your spare garbage trucks to Tyler's city, Tyler from PC Gamer? He could use some garbage capacity. Oh, sure, I'll be nice. That's part of what we're supposed to be doing here.
yeah, you're building a
work-
society.
cooperating and helping each other out. So I sent him a garbage truck. Little did I know that he had created a very experimental city that had no cross sections. It was just one long winding road that went like this, kind of like the line for a theme park ride.
But it's supposed
Yeah.
to be efficient.
That's
supposed
the
to be
most efficient.
But what happened was my garbage truck got out in front of all of his traffic like a pace car, and nothing could get around it. And because it's stopping at every house to pick up the garbage, it created this legendary traffic. I basically screwed his entire city.
Well, so the traffic is the problem with the game.
In terms of design.
Yeah, so I played probably 3 or 4 cities to 100,000+ people now. One of
Yeah.
them got to 250 maybe.
Yeah.
What happens is you reach a certain size, and because of the way they model the Sims, and they do model, I mean, there's a lot of debate about what percentage of the Sims in a large city they actually model. I don't care about that. All I care about is the game playable. At some point, you reach a size where if you have a city that's arranged in a traditional square grid with avenues and sub-blocks that are smaller streets, at some point, traffic jams get to such a point that you'll have the Sims are very short attention span. So when they leave work, they go to the nearest possible house. They don't go to their house. They go to the closest house to them. And once that house fills, then they go to the next closest house.
This is how
and so
someone
on and so
else, someone
forth.
on the EA
This is how-
forums has determined that the pathfinding works.
And once this was described, it makes a ton of sense when you look at, for example, I had a conga line of 45 police cars all going to chase the same criminal when there's 60 criminals in the city.
Right.
Same thing happens with fire trucks. When you have a fire, all 5 of your fire trucks will go to the nearest fire when there's a skyscraper burning to the ground on the other side
So
of the
they should
city.
be behaving more intelligently than that.
They are behaving in a
everything,
very
not just the
profoundly
people
dumb
and
way.
the services, but also the power.
Yeah, I
and
read
water.
a very long blog last night that was really really well thought out to the point where I couldn't really understand it. But they seem to be making a very good case for the fact that traffic and just the basic kind of commuting behavior of Sims is just not correct.
So the upshot was last night I built a city that has the Tyler one long winding ass road, and that is by far the most efficient way to get people to and from places, which makes me think that this game should be called Sim Road and not Sim City, because as it is not it's not a game that simulates
obviously
cities.
they can continue to patch and correct these issues as they come up, but it sounds like, and again, this is very interesting because this has also created a wider story about the media and how games are reviewed. A lot of big 9 out of 10 and 9.5 reviews came out for SimCity day one, people that had been playing the game a little bit ahead of release. And now everyone's scrambling to change those scores and refine them as they realize that not only did they not take into account the issues with the server capacity, because you can never really know until the game goes fully live, but also the fact that a game as deep as SimCity, if the review's coming out day one, I've got to ask questions about how much you really kind of went down. A game like that needs to be
It's not
very,
just
very
games.
thoroughly
It's
tested. You can't
games
just
and
skim the
technology.
surface.
It's everything.
Because the people that are going to really play SimCity are the ones that are going to notice these issues.
It's with every single piece of technology or product that you review.
The more complex something is, the longer it takes to evaluate. I mean, we said this at the very beginning of Tested. It's why we don't post reviews of the iPad 2 days after it comes out. It's a really complex thing with multiple moving pieces.
And I understand
it's
there's
okay to have an evolving opinion about it, as long as you come up and be forthright and say that, okay, we were wrong.
And of course, there's people do want an impression on day one. In fact, I think that was kind of cool. IGN and a lot of other sites did kind of evolving reviews, like reviews in progress, where they didn't put a score on it or they didn't reach a conclusion until after they'd played it somewhat.
Yeah.
But again, even a lot of those reviews that were trying to be more thoughtful, because SimCity is so deep and a lot of its issues are only excavated once you really, really start to play and get under the hood of it.
And you
It's
couldn't
taken
see
a
what the
while.
problem was. Yeah, like you couldn't see the problem with, say, buying resources between cities in a region, which is one of the key parts of the game. The fact that
Right.
you can build a city that's full of water, and I have a city with no water, and I can buy water from you, just doesn't work.
Well, it's funny. That's true. That problem is. I mean, the game is basically kind of broken.
It's broken on multiple levels, and I mean, at this point, people have paid for a beta, which is horse shit.
I had my first city that I'm still currently building. There was a particular block on it that was absolutely jammed with traffic, and there were areas around it that were fine. And I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And again, in my stupidity, I'm assuming, well, the game must be fine. There's something wrong with the way I've designed the street. And now I'm thinking, well, there may be nothing wrong with the street. The game is just broken.
So I had, and even beyond the problems moving the Sims around, there's a larger issue where if there's a crash or a collision of cars or something like that, I had a fire truck that blocked the only entrance and exit into my city. So that meant all of the trade stuff stopped working, all of the water flow in. All of the workers coming in and out stopped working, all of the trade going in and out stopped working, all the fire trucks and ambulances from other cities stopped working.
Right.
And then it broke the entire game.
And there was the.
I mean,
4 hours in. I'm sorry?
Did it resolve itself?
No,
the traffic
I had
jam?
to delete that part of the road and rebuild it.
Yeah.
So Ocean Quigley, who is the director of the game, and has been kind of the main
Yeah.
public face of SimCity, tweeted something the other. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like inside Maxis right now. I mean, he said it was like the first 10 minutes of Argo. Basically, right now working at Maxis.
I'm
going to
sure-
go out and reason with them, and then the guy gets fucking strung up and killed.
I mean, here's the thing. I feel like the people at Maxis probably are getting the shit end of the stick because I bet that, they've had pressure to release, I'm sure. The game's very clearly not ready.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure that right up to the launch day, they were saying, look, we should push this game back and not release it
and
now.
and my guess would be that this is actually the fault of various suits at EA that said, let's save money on servers. Let's
make it online for DRM.
We need to publish this now.
Microtransactions.
Although why it was so important that it comes out in March, I don't know. It's not like there aren't any other cool games to play in March.
Yeah. It's looking at the reviews, it's real grim. Tom Chick comes in with a low score on Metacritic at 20.
Well, I mean,
So one
he
star, I
does
guess.
that with that's nothing new for Tom Chick.
No, I
know. Screw Attack gave it 1. The Polygon review went from 9.5 to a 4. I think right now the Amazon customer rating on it is still 1 star. Amazon pulled it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how serious it got. You couldn't even buy it from Amazon anymore.
Yeah.
They were so embarrassed.
Yeah.
Can't sell it. I mean, it's broken. It
Well,
doesn't work.
and then there's other controversy. EA is not offering refunds on the game, which I think is bogus when it's broken as bad as. Yeah, I mean, I think it's insane to ask for refunds on a game that you buy on launch day and expect to work on launch day. When
Logan
it's
Decker,
server
editor
side.
of PC Gamer, has always said this is why you don't buy games on launch day.
Oh, he's right. You shouldn't. I mean, Giant Bomb says the same thing. You shouldn't pre-order games. Period. However, sometimes you do. And
Sometimes you can't help yourself.
I wouldn't. The thing is, I wouldn't ask for a refund for server issues. I would ask for a refund for a game that is broken as broken as this is.
With any game that requires a connection, whether it be an MMO or one of these games where the connection's a bit more spurious, but it's still required.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a code for it, so I had it ready to go. I had it preloaded on day one, but I didn't even try to play it right away because I just knew I didn't know it was going to be this bad. But I've been there for every major MMO type launch, and I mean, I think the first really big one I was at was World of Warcraft, and that was people don't remember now, but I mean,
It was bad.
unplayable
Yeah.
the weekend it came out.
Unless you played Horde.
I know the Star Wars MMO had problems. Diablo 3 had a lot of problems. I mean, basically, any time that you require a connection.
Yeah, the early days of EQ were bad.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, it's to be expected the first week, but the broken game is really unfortunate.
Patch that shit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's stuff they can patch.
No, sure they can.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
sure they can. I don't know. By the time they fix it, will anybody care?
And the thing is, it's
Of course they will.
it's
If
still
it
a lot of
fixes it,
it's still a lot of
then
fun
we'll
to
care.
play. The crack element of it is still there.
Absolutely.
But it's just when I finish playing, I always stop because something frustrates me, and I just feel bad about playing.
Well, that's the thing is knowing now that there are
So it's a good
things.
drug.
Knowing now that there are things in the game that are broken, I don't want to play it because again, if I'm looking at this traffic, if I see a traffic jam, I'm like, well, okay, I've got to figure out a way to fix it. But if I know it's not my fault, the game's no fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the upgrade trees the upgrade trees to get to the high level stuff are such that you have to have the region connections, and the region connections work sporadically, and it's unfortunate. So don't buy SimCity, I guess is the takeaway.
Don't buy it for a while until you read the story that says, guys, SimCity, they fixed everything, now it's great. Then you can go buy it.
SimCity 2 is coming out next month.
Yeah.
I tested it.
Great soundtrack, though.
It is a great soundtrack. Chris Tilton did a really nice job.
Amazing soundtrack. I
score.
love it. I bought the album and I'm listening to it in my car.
I tested the guys who made Eminent Domain, Tasty Minstrel Games, sent a pre-release of their Kickstarter game Dungeon Roll, which is kind of it's like a dungeon delving game. It's dice based, kind of reminds me a lot of Zombie Dice. It's quite good.
I'd love to know
highly
what
recommended.
the GDP of Kickstarter is.
It's probably pretty good.
I'd love
these
to know
days.
the sum total of contributions to all Kickstarters.
There are stats out there. People have cold data, and
Well, I mean, KickTrack kind of gives you that too if you look at it. Dungeon Roll, I think those guys asked for 10 grand and have gotten like 120 grand or something like that so far. Can't remember where.
Leah
it's at.
got one. She got a Kickstarter product that she ordered. It came in the mail. And it's great.
Yeah, I mean, well, you take a gamble like anything else. It's like a pre-order essentially.
Yeah.
But they've done a pretty good job of making sure that people are able to deliver. And
This
stuff
thing
like
is really
that.
cool. It's like a little micro SD card caddy that fits in the SD card of your MacBook Air.
Oh, that's
and you
nice.
can effectively upgrade your solid state memory. But it doesn't jut out like an SD card does. It fits flush.
Oh, so it's a flat SD card
It,
basically.
it fits right in, and it comes with a tiny little hook tool that you can use to pull it out.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
she put a 64 gig micro SD card in it.
Yeah.
So she increased her hard drive space by 50%.
That's great.
Yeah, it was a good little product.
Dungeon Roll's quite good. It's $15. The Kickstarter ends next week, so if you want to get in on that, it's a good game to play with people who don't normally play board games. Is what I would say. The Nikon NEX adapter. We posted that finally. I can't remember if we talked about it before, but it's like the Metabones. Metabones. But dumb and cheap. So it lets you use old Nikon lenses. There's versions for most old manual lenses that you can buy for about $20. Yeah, but this is F mount. There's ones from Minolta mount and Olympus mount as well. And you can use it on your NEX camera. It basically turns your NEX camera into a
E-mount.
manual camera. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, E-mount as well. There's a crop. Just watch the video if you're interested. I quite like it. You can get much better glass if you're willing to manually focus than you can get for the E-mount otherwise. And they're also available for other Micro Four Thirds cameras and stuff like that. Anything else we want to talk about here? Norman? Gary? Anything
Well, I
else
finally
there?
got the charger case I wanted for my phone.
Oh, what'd you get? What do you like?
The Mophie.
So, right around the last few months of the iPhone 4S, I started to realize, even though I don't like to put a case on my phone, I'm one of those people that has terrible battery anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I get down below 75%, I start to think about, like, am I going to run out of battery? How
Yeah.
much can I use this thing? It's an OCD thing. It's not. I very rarely actually run out of battery, but I'm always worrying about running out of battery.
It's a real threat.
It's only on trips for me. Not
Yeah,
day to day.
mostly on trips. I usually carry a cord, a power plug with me, and I like to stay topped up as much as possible. I'll charge it even when I don't really need to charge it. So I thought, well, maybe one of these Mophie cases that has the battery built right into the case would be good. I didn't get one for the 4S because I knew the 5 was coming. I thought, well, I'll just wait for that. The problem was it's been a really long wait because they redid the connector on the 5 to the Lightning connector. And Apple has not really been in a big hurry to kind of help third parties make their own version of that connector.
That's why there aren't any the speaker docks.
Accessories have been really, really slow. And I think Mophie actually is the first company outside of Apple to actually ship something with a Lightning connector on it. So I first of all got the Mophie Helium,
Okay.
which
is the big one.
Yeah, we
which is a
reviewed that,
chunky
yeah.
case. You put it, you did a little quick look on that. And I got it, and I liked it, but there are things about it that I didn't like. Like I didn't like the recessed buttons and a couple of other features. And then right after the Helium, still don't understand why they have both products because they're very similar. Came the Juice Pack Air, which is also for the 5, and that is this one. And this has a slightly better form factor, no recessed buttons,
It's a little bigger.
but so much tinily bigger that
It
you don't
looks
even really
just
notice.
like the Helium.
Much
from
nicer
distance.
form factor and more battery. So this is like 100% full charge. Basically what you do is you wait for your phone to get down to like your 20% battery warning, flip the sort of switch on the back, and it recharges the phone again.
So when
and it's
did-
great. I was out, this is why I got this at South by Southwest, because I know I'm going to be out all day and night, maybe not going back to the hotel room. Again, as soon as it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm at 60% battery, I'm like, this is not going to make it till midnight
Traveling,
or however long I'm going to be
It is
out.
great for travel.
I'm going to start panicking. But I hit 20% at around 7 or 8 o'clock at night, flip the switch, fully, and I'm good until, for the rest of the night. I loved it. No battery anxiety ever again.
So when did the 5 come out?
November. No, October.
September, because we had it in New
September
York.
20 AS. Yeah, late September.
It's taken a
taken
while.
6 months.
It's taken a while. And I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone else out there
There's like
has this. Yeah, I think
there's like
Mophie
car
is-
chargers and stuff like that.
Are
but-
there?
Yeah,
with
and-
lightning connectors.
yes, with
Okay.
lightning connectors.
Okay.
Lightning
But I haven't
connector
seen any speaker
is-
docks or anything like that.
Well, I'll
yet.
tell you why specifically. It's because Apple's standard if you want to put a lightning connector and a speaker dock, it can't just be like the 30-pin connector because the lightning is a little more rigid and
Right.
it doesn't pop off as easily. So Apple's afraid that on speaker docks, because they're usually bent at an angle, if you pull the phone out, it'll snap the lightning connector.
I have a lightning adapter on my speaker dock, and you do have to be careful about how you take it on and
Yeah.
off.
So-
Also, I'm sure Apple would much rather sell you their
Right.
adapter
Yeah.
than have third parties sell their
But
docks.
third parties will get speaker docks will get lightning connector.
Yeah, it's gonna
But
take a while.
The standard is that it'll need to be a mechanical spring so that
Yeah.
it will bend
Yeah.
and let you remove your phone or iPad mini easily.
Anyway, I like my case a lot. Again, I don't even need it today, but I have it on because I just love knowing that no matter what, I've got tons and tons of battery.
And you know, it's not to make it a 2-day battery phone. It's to make it a full 1-day.
It finally makes it a full all day,
Full heavy
full,
use.
all,
One day.
full all day and all night battery.
without thinking about battery at all.
And that's the thing. Again, even without the battery in the phone's actually pretty decent. I very rarely hit bottom. But
Oh, you
again,
hit bottom.
Yeah, I hit bottom a while ago. But I have terrible. Like I said, I have irrational anxiety about battery charge, and so that's why I'm not going to buy an electric car until they get super crazy battery overhead.
There you
I
go.
don't know that's gonna happen.
I don't know if they're going to get there either.
And
I
I-
saw a couple of Tesla S's in Austin. Man, what a beautiful car!
They are
They
gorgeous
pushed
cars.
back the Model X.
Oh, they did?
to end of next year, I believe. Yeah,
It's a really nice car.
the S is very nice.
Anything else we've been testing, Norm?
We've a bunch of that. We'll be shooting a lot more reviews once Joey's
How,
back.
do you want to talk about your 60 at all? Save it for next week.
No, we'll,
Okay.
Yeah.
We will talk about the 60 later. I guess that'll do it for us. I'm going to skip questions this week because we are running pretty far over. And we will see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to This Is Only to Test. Maybe stay tuned for fake outtakes. I don't know. Today's outro is brought to you by Evil Max. Hi there. I didn't see you. Tested. Oh, this is a great picture of Jeffrey Tambor. Wow. That picture of Jeffrey Tambor is amazing. It was a really good picture of Jeffrey Tambor. What's your favorite Jeffrey Tambor role?
Probably Hank.
I can see that.
I think that's his greatest role.
I would go with Arrested Development.
I'm sure many people, and especially those of the younger generation, would
Yeah.
say that. But I imagine that if you've seen people have been around a bit longer, that
He's a
remember
pretty
the,
good
remember the
mustache.
Larry Sanders
Larry
show.
Sanders.
Yeah.
Hank is one of the great tragic comic creations of all time.
Yeah, I don't think Arrested Development Tambor would exist without Hank.
No, I think Hank.
surely not.
Hank is so clearly the answer for me.
Norm?
I have not seen all of Larry Sanders show, so I'm gonna say Arrested Development as well.
You haven't seen the Larry Sanders show?
A little bit. I know it's on HBO. I have an HBO Go, but
Yeah, you do. You have no
Yeah.
excuse.
I went through and watched about pretty much the entire first season of Flight of the Conchords the other day when I had the kid.
Okay.
It's a fantastic
It's
show.
great to have all this TV just on. It's free flowing tap of just endless TV.
well, we're paying for it, so I might as well watch it.
Have
Yeah.
we talked about this? Like the peril of endless entertainment? I feel like we have. But like that's one of the things I'm like of the things I worry about as a parent now. The teaching the kid to cope with infinite entertainment is high on the list.
It's.
Well,
I mean,
if you-
I
if
mean,
you
they're,
can't
they're
teach
grow-
yourself to
they're
cope
growing
with
up.
it, how you
They're
expect your
growing up
kid
in
to
a
grow?
world that is so different to the. I mean, I grew up in a world where there were
4 channels
until I was 10 years old. There were 3 channels. They had when
Yeah.
they added a 4th, people lost their shit.
That was the same thing
I
for
had
me.
I had 10 channels, and that was amazing. You knew that it was gonna be.
But some of them were like languages you didn't speak, right?
maybe 2 or 3.
Okay.
But now it's this endless fucking utopia
Yeah,
of
it's like a
content.
buffet
And
that never
and
ends.
And
It's noisy. It's
and it
very,
leads to a new kind of anxiety. Like I now have anxiety about all the stuff that I'm not seeing. I'm
missing.
like, there's all this stuff out there. All this like I still haven't seen Homeland. I still haven't seen Downton Abbey.
You're also
I still
not-
haven't seen Archer. I still haven't seen this. And
Archer's really good.
So, I know.
Downton Abbey's really
I
good,
can't. That's
too.
all I ever hear about. Is I don't have time to watch all these. All this great stuff is going to go unwatched.
See, I've been taking kid time to do
Don't
that.
worry, people are watching them. You can see the world.
I lay down and with the baby, and I watched basically. This might make me a bad parent, but we watched like the kid and I have watched pretty much the first 5 seasons of Always Sunny in Philadelphia together. I mean,
Wow.
she doesn't care 'cause she's a baby, but yeah, it gets real dark, that show.
Well, I discovered you might discover this a bit later, but we rationed the TV for the baby a lot.
She's
It's very easy to plonk her in front of a screen and just hypnonize her.
Oh, we don't do
but
that.
we don't want to fall, and also we don't want to show her anything. When she's looking at the TV, we're looking at the Good Night Show or something like that because I think I was watching a movie or a TV show where like an explosion went off and the baby kind of jumps up and said, wow, she actually is reacting to this stuff. Like even in the most vague sense, if there's anything negative or traumatizing, I don't want her looking at that.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that she's just now reaching the stage where she like turns around and like looks at stuff.
Yeah.
And dude, when she picks up the TV on, especially if the room's dark, it's like cranes the head all the way around in the other direction, out of the corner of the eye, just to watch the magical picture box.
And it's kind of amazing just to match your own brain regresses. Like you're satisfied just to watch Angelina Ballerina for 20 minutes, and like you actually get into it.
Sounds great.
Like, I'll just watch this. I have very low standards now for entertainment.
You always had kind of low
I still
standards.
find it. I'm as a Brit. This Americanized version of Thomas the Tank Engine can fuck off.
So did
what
they?
is that?
So what?
We
what
didn't
is
have Thomas the
new-
Tank Engine when I was a kid.
But I had it on PBS when I was a
You're
kid.
younger than I am, Norm.
And here it's not even known as Thomas the Tank Engine. He
But
says
isn't it
Thomas.
older? It's an older show.
Yeah, but it
No,
was.
it's
They
still,
hadn't
it's still
been brought
aimed at
here.
real little kids. Oh, I mean, it started. I mean,
Yeah, it started a long
the
time
original.
ago.
I mean,
So-
obviously, it started as book. It was a series of kids' books, and then it got adapted for television. And Ringo Starr was
All right,
the narrator.
I'll tell you what I remember because I haven't watched it since 20 years ago, 20 something years ago. It was a introduction and it was a set, like live, like Mr. Rogers style play set, and Thomas would drive around on the track and there'd be a lot of like figures that were like not movable, like a toy set, and then
Like
they'd
a
have
train,
faces,
model train.
set,
Yeah.
and it'd be video of that. And then it'd go into a train station after that segment, and there would be a conductor and kids, and they would talk about it, and then go back.
I
into
don't remember the
Thomas
live
world.
action element, but the version that I grew up on used real models, and it wasn't even animation. They would just run a train past the camera
Yeah.
and shoot that, and that was the.
Did the faces move?
No, they were stuck on, but they would have different faces. Like he'd be happy, then cut away, come back, and he's
Right,
got a sad
right,
face. They would
yeah.
just change
Yeah.
the face. But it
The
didn't
faces were
It
scary.
didn't animate. But now I turn it on the other day, and now it's all CG and these American accents, and like this is not Thomas.
You know, I had the same thing happen when I flipped on He-Man on Netflix the other day.
were you watching the new one?
The new one is shit.
I didn't like it. I went straight back to the old
The
one.
old one, it turns out, also was shit, but it
No,
was at
no,
least
no, 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 the old
a
He-Man,
familiar flavor.
Old
of
He-Man
shit.
was good, but this new edgy version of it was,
Well, how's it new and edgy?
you know, it's all like anime inspired, and
Yeah, the sword's too big. He's
Yeah.
clearly overcompensating.
Wait, is it the same character design?
And they did
Yeah,
like this
Same
epic
haircut?
3-hour like
No,
origin
different
story
haircut.
that just I just had no patience for. I went straight back to the original one.
I've never seen the He-Man movie.
Yeah,
The one with Dolph Lundgren?
Yeah.
I wanna see that.
It's on Netflix, I'm sure.
And I now have a perverse
With Frank Langella.
Frank Langella, and I want to see
Skeletor.
I want to
Yeah.
see the Thomas movie that has Alec Baldwin in it.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Thomas the Tank Engine movie with
There's
Alec Baldwin?
there was a feature-length theatrically released Thomas movie
truly
that
a-
has Alec Baldwin and a couple of other like I think like Peter Fonda.
A Baldwin has truly done everything.
Yeah,
It wouldn't surprise me if this time, 20 years from now, there's a Baldwin on the moon.
they've done it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No, no, no,
amazing.
no. Yeah.
I can't even like, it has to be young. It's like Hunt for Red October era Baldwin, right?
No, it's older than that.
Like older.
It's like
he's older than that, or the movie's older than
it was,
that?
you know, he was well established as a movie star by this point. Like it's chubbier Alec Baldwin. It's the older
So
Alec
it's like
Baldwin.
it's like L.A. Confidential Baldwin, Alec Baldwin,
He wasn't in LA Confidential.
wasn't he?
No.
Oh no, Kim Basinger was in that.
How often we get those two mixed up?
So it's not Beetlejuice Alec Baldwin, is what you're saying?
No.
Okay.
No.
I see. I have big gaps in my Alec Baldwin knowledge between, say, Hunt for Red October.
It's slightly
Rock.
The
it's
Shadow.
slightly
It's The Shadow.
It's slightly pre
No, that was
Donaghy.
Billy. That was Billy.
No, Alec
No,
Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin
Oh, that
was
was
the
The
shadow.
Shadow.
Alec
Was Billy
Baldwin was the
Zane.
shadow. It's slightly pre 30 Rock. Alec Baldwin. I mean, it's fairly recent era. Alec
Wow.
Baldwin.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I want to watch it. I mean, it's got to be on Netflix.
Yeah, it's absolutely on Netflix.
God, man, when you trawl around Netflix, it's a rabbit hole, man. You can really get lost.
I watched about half of the first season of G.I. Joe. Do you know that first season of G.I. Joe has like 60 episodes in it?
Yeah.
They made a lot back
They just
then.
it was
Yeah,
like one a
some good-
week.
Some good G.I. Joe. I love
Yeah,
G.I. Joe.
that-
G.I. Joe and He-Man, I've been watching a lot of those.
The bit at the end of that first season of G.I. Joe with the Ryan Davis recommended I watch it. The one where they go and it's basically like Stepford Wives, the city. They take what was the scuba
Shipwreck?
guy's name? Shipwreck.
Yeah.
They capture him. He goes to this fake city that's supposed to be after the war with Cobra's over.
Yeah.
And they try to get secrets out of him because
Yeah.
it's really a Cobra run.
Oh, the classic like Riker Romulan.
Oh, it's
gambit.
amazing. Yeah,
State
it's
of
so
mind.
good. So good.
Yeah. I saw the one where they fell like through a time portal or something and came out in an alternate dimension where Cobra was the government.
Yeah.
And G.I. Joe were like the scrappy terrorist insurgents.
That's the movie. That's this next movie.
Yeah. Cobra are in charge, right?
Yeah.
Cobra is in charge.
Jonathan Pryce is evil.
Yeah. I'm excited about it.
The other good one is the Serpentor line, which we've talked about before, so
Yeah.
I won't get into. But the Serpentor stuff is top
That's the one where he
notch.
takes all the villains from history. Yeah. That
Genghis Khan, Napoleon.
that was good.
Yeah, I don't think he gets Hitler in there, but it's implied.
That was good.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and see, that's the thing. I say that I don't have time to watch all these great shows, but when I do have time, I just watch trash.
Well, but the problem is
because I
easier.
can't. Thing is, it's like
You don't have to pay attention.
that's the thing. I rarely have time to watch something that I really feel like could be good, and
Yeah.
I'm going to get excited about. I'm watching this crap that I'm like, it's kind of on. I'm kind of watching it, but I don't have to be fully engaged.
Because you only watch it once, the good stuff.
Well, Downton Abbey works in that like not that Downton Abbey's not good, but Downton Abbey is the kind of thing that you can kind of listen to and get all the gist of. And if you have opportunity to look, then it's very pretty and all.
Yeah.
But you can pick it all up from the dialogue.
Maybe so.
It's a dialogue show.
right.
I'm trying to think other stuff. Like I just listen to a lot of TV. I could turn off the TV and just have the audio and be okay most of the time.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me that's how you know. So it's different. There's two rules. One is for movies and one is for TV. They tell you that in movies, you should be able to turn the sound off and follow the film without hearing the dialogue.
Battleship.
Because movies are very visual.
Yeah.
They tell you in TV that you should be able to turn the picture off and just listen to it like a radio play and still follow that. Because
Yeah.
TV is more dialogue.
Casino is a fantastic movie, and that's a movie I can just listen to. I don't have to watch.
That's true.
yeah.
But that's a special case.
I mean, Casino's just great all around.
Yeah.
I
You see
want to
there's
get
a
the poster of all the
Yes,
different suits.
all the suits
I had
he
no idea
wears.
he wore that many suits.
I know. It was
Dude,
Is
like
one of them where
36
he's got
of
no
them.
pants on? Because that's my favorite look. When he just gets up and there's no pants.
Well, you don't want to wrinkle your pants if you're sitting down.
Absolutely. And it's just this great little moment of comedy. They just totally underplay it. It's so well done.
Learned that from Steve Martin. And
Casino is a good movie,
It
man.
is a good- I haven't watched
I mean,
that in
there are
years.
parts of it that are hard to watch, but it is a good movie.
it has a real brutal beating scene, doesn't it?
I mean, not just that, but pretty much anything with Joe Pesci is tough because he's such a
He's
dickhead.
evil.
He's so evil and scary.
So evil.
Yeah.
yeah, he needs a second act.
But that was a good movie.
He was good in Home Alone.
Yeah, I mean, he's good in lots of things.
Yeah.
Don't really see him too much anymore.
Yeah, I think he olded up real fast.
What do you have on your Kindle right now?
I'm reading Gun Machine by Warren Ellis right
Oh,
now.
yeah, how is that?
It is
I saw a lot of people talking about that
Super fucking weird, as would be expected
from Warren Ellis.
from Warren Ellis. It's
Yeah.
less weird than Crooked Little Vein, but I like Crooked Little
I
Vein
didn't
a
read
lot.
that, no.
It goes into weird sex places.
You're reading
but
some
it's good.
Vonnegut.
Yeah, I discovered Kurt Vonnegut late in life.
How the hell did you just now find Kurt
I don't know. I
Vonnegut?
tell you what happened was after I got my Kindle Paperwhite, I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I'm supposed to read. I don't read anything like as much as I should.
Yeah.
And reading is so anytime I'm reading a good book, I'm like, why aren't I doing this all the time? Like I should just be reading constantly.
Requires
Yeah.
time and concentration.
It does require time and concentration, but it's so great. Reading is brilliant.
Yeah, the iPad has cut into my reading time because I tend to go back and play like tower defense games.
Well,
when I'm
part of
reading
it was
and
like
fall asleep.
I spend a lot of my
real
free
bad.
time now. Once the baby goes down, I'll zone out in front of Facebook or Twitter or watch TV, and I'm thinking like I should be doing something more nutritionally.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the short stories are so great.
Short stories are great. So I got my Paperwhite, and what did I do? What did I buy? What did I put on it right away? Oh, I put Wise Man's Fear, the second Patrick Rothfuss,
Oh, that book's great.
because I love Name of the Wind,
Yeah.
and then Wise Man's Fear came out, and I love that too.
Name of the Wind is like top 10 book of the decade.
So good.
Yeah.
and the
It-
second one is great too.
A lot of people didn't like it. Have you finished it?
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like it because of some of the weird stuff in the late second act.
I mean, it goes
They're
off,
assholes.
It
If you don't
goes
like
off
that
in
book,
some
you're an
very
asshole.
weird digressions. But that whole thing where he's like training with the kind of the Shaolin
Yep.
monk type people
It's
is awesome.
awesome.
The whole weird love affair he has with the fairy in the forest,
Yep.
like it just goes on these weird tangents. But it's so well written that you don't care that the story's
It's
not moving
gorgeous.
forward.
Yeah, it's like I still don't think he's gonna have a hard time beating the sequence in the first book where he learns to play the lute with the fewer strings, where the strings keep breaking and he
Right.
just keeps learning how to play better and better.
Right.
But yeah, the second book's fantastic.
But it's great. It's
really
so
good.
well written. I mean, the quality of the prose is just fantastic.
Yes.
So I finished both, and it's one of those things where I'm like, well, now I'm really hungry to read more. What can I read next? But I was like, I felt like it set such a high bar that I wanted to make sure that the next thing I read I would like just as much.
Yeah.
And I always tell myself like that I've got a lot of gaps like in my classics. Like there's a lot of classic books I haven't read. I'm thinking, well, rather than just pick up the latest contemporary whatever, let me let me fill some holes in.
Yeah.
Let
So
me
what
have
did
few-
you get? Slaughterhouse 5?
So I've always liked the idea of Kurt Vonnegut, and
Yeah.
I
He's
was
great.
somewhat ashamed of the fact that I'd never read any of his books. I thought, well, I'll start with Slaughterhouse 5 because that's the one that I've heard most of, and I was blown away by it.
They teach it in high school.
Blown away by it.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant. Never read anything quite
Do you
like
read
it.
Cat's Cradle? Should be your number 2.
So I'm getting there.
Okay.
So I read Slaughterhouse 5. I didn't even know what Slaughterhouse 5 was about.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know, and this is what I was so. It's embarrassing to admit that I knew this little about one of the greatest American writers. I actually didn't know that Kurt Vonnegut wrote a ton of science fiction. That's
It's
actually
science
what he's
fiction
good at.
satire.
And so I didn't know
He
this-
was
I
the
didn't know-
precursor to Douglas Adams.
I did not know that Slaughterhouse 5 was a science fiction book. I had no idea.
Well, it kind of it's a slow burn. Like you don't realize it's a science fiction book until you're into the 3rd or 4th chapter.
And that's what's great about it. It
Yeah.
sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
So I loved it. And I loved his prose. Like the Spartan nature of his prose is just a joy to read.
He's very clearly
What you
crazy.
realize is that you don't need elegant sentence structure or anything like that. It's very much like Hemingway, right? Very just basic kind of nuts and bolts English. Just simple words. You can understand everything, but the meaning behind the words and what's actually going on between the lines, that's where all the depth and sophistication is. But the actual English itself, anyone can read it.
Yeah.
That's a good high school book.
And like, it took me a while to figure out what was even going on. Like, so I suppose the first chapter of the book is just about why he decided to write the book. It's not even the book itself.
It's non-linear, right?
Yeah, and they're really short.
Yeah.
I read Cat's Cradle in a day because
Yeah.
it's really short. Anyway, I read Slaughterhouse 5, loved it. Saw the movie, didn't like the movie.
Movie's
as much.
bad.
Didn't like the movie.
Yeah.
Some
Have you
things
read
are
Breakfast
just.
Champions.
What's
There are
that?
3 Slaughterhouse 5 movies, right? Or at least 2. I can't remember.
I just saw the one.
The 50s one or the 70s
this-
one?
The one that's directed by George Roy Hill,
Okay. I don't.
which is very faithful to the book.
Yeah,
It just,
yeah.
I just don't think it works as well as a movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, I liked it. So I was so pleased by the end of Slaughterhouse 5 because not only did I enjoy it, but I thought, well, great, now I know that I want to read more Kurt
Yeah.
Vonnegut, and there's more of it out there. It was easy for me to decide. The problem with Wise Man's Fear was once I was done with it, there's not really much more Patrick Rothfuss to go. It's not like I could just jump to the next book.
I met Patrick Rothfuss at Woodstock and was like, dude, come on. When? I was
And
the
he's
first.
taking his time.
I have been. I was the
something that lovingly created. I mean, you can't be in a rush.
No. Yeah, it was the only time I've ever been an asshole around somebody who's moderately famous. And
Yeah.
I wasn't like a bad asshole.
I'm sure he hears it all the
But I
time.
was just like, dude, I love your book and I can't wait for the next one. And it was.
I'm sure he
it
was
was
glad to
fantasy
hear
that
it.
I'm not ashamed to recommend to people.
Yeah,
And I was like, that's the
it's-
kind of back end is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book.
Yeah.
And I know he's written some short stories and stuff, but like,
That's great.
I
Give me
need
the
there,
next
there was
book.
no obvious next book. For a while, I was kind of fiddling around. I read a bunch of like Kindle samples of other like contemporary. Like I tried to get into Perdido Street Station and a couple of things like that. I just couldn't get into them.
The China Meeville book, or Myville, however you pronounce his name, is either The City in the City or you'd probably like Kraken. It's set in London. It's really good.
Okay.
They're much more. Perdido is really inaccessible and like challenging.
And I poked around a couple of other things, and nothing really stuck. And that's when I thought, well, I can't even remember why Vonnegut came up. Somebody had mentioned it to me. and I'm
Vonnegut's
like,
great.
Okay, so look, that's something I should read. And I ended up falling in love with the way he writes. And then it was like, well, what do I read next? And I asked on Twitter, what do I read next? And everybody said Cat's Cradle. So I
Cat's
read-
Cradle is the best.
I didn't like Cat's Cradle as much as Slaughterhouse 5.
Oh, Cat's.
I mean,
well,
The ending's very depressing.
Cat's Cradle is definitely not as well constructed. Like it's an earlier book, I think. It's not as well constructed as Slaughterhouse 5.
I mean, it
is-
has the same kind of quality as Slaughterhouse 5 in that it jumps around all these different ideas and narratives, and it's kind of about everything and nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't care that the plot is meandering. You don't care that the story doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Yeah.
You just are just having so much fun with the way that he writes.
Well, it's kind of the same way. Did you ever read Catch-22?
No.
By Joseph Heller?
No.
So that's kind of the same thing. It's just Catch-22 is almost like a stream of consciousness thing by a guy who was, I think, a bomber on a B-25
Right.
out of Italy in World War II.
Right.
And his only goal is to survive. Like the Catch-22 of the book is that in order to...
I'm familiar with what Catch-22 is.
No, but I'm just saying he has to prove that he's insane in order to get knocked out of the war. But the only way to prove by wanting to get knocked out of the war,
You're-
taken out of the
you
war,
can't- you
you
can't
can't
do
prove
insane.
that.
Right, I get it.
I was telling it for the benefit of the people at
Oh,
home.
okay, all right. I was also
it's the same
giving,
kind
I
of
was also
meandering
giving
thing.
our audience the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I obviously think our audience is better read and
I-
less stupid than you do.
But
You're probably right though.
so then you think I'm right.
It's funny.
Catch-22.
So in the two and a half Vonnegut books that I've read, it's so rare for me to read a book, even in something like Name of the Wind, which is a great book, and I loved every minute of it. For me, to actually want to sit on a sentence and underline it and maybe remember it for
You
some.
made highlights.
I didn't physically do it, but I really wanted to, all the time.
Wow,
and
we
you
should
can
find.
with Kindle
Yeah.
all the time. I actually had to turn the feature off because you can see what other people have underlined.
Oh,
and in a Vonnegut book, it's like practically all underlined.
Yeah, the whole book is probably underlined.
So I had to turn that feature off. But I really liked Cat's Cradle. I didn't like it as much as Slaughterhouse 5. And now I'm reading...
Other way around. You really like Slaughterhouse 5. You didn't like as much.
That's what I just said. I said I really liked Cat's Cradle. I didn't like it as much as Slaughterhouse 5.
Okay.
And now I'm reading on your recommendation, Welcome to the Monkey House.
I never
Some
read
of his
that.
short stories.
Short stories from magazines.
And his short stories are great because they're not...
good.
Well, it's like a
if
chapter.
if you read the two novels, you expect the short stories to be a certain thing, and some are and some aren't. Some, like, there's one that's just a really nice love story, and there's nothing very Vonnegut. I guess because he's in his introduction, he explains that I wrote these short stories just to pay the bills, and sometimes, if you want like a love story, you could write a love story.
They could all be Star Trek episodes.
Many of them could.
That is true.
Many of them could.
The
titled story is a bit weird.
Yeah, that one's
but All the King's Horses was amazing.
That's my favorite.
That was fucked up.
I've got to get that. I've
What a
never
great-
read that. What's the collection called?
Welcome to the Monkey House. And I'm about 6. The two that I don't know where you remember the others, but that one and I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called like Mr. Foster's Portfolio is the other one that I really like.
Oh, which one is that?
It's about he's like a financial advisor, and there's a guy that is living in this shitty house with his wife, and he works 3 jobs to make ends meet, but his stock portfolio is worth millions, and the stockbroker can't understand why the guy won't spend the money.
Huh. I don't remember that one.
Huh. I don't remember.
He's
that
like a
either.
secret millionaire, but he lives like he has no money. And you eventually get to there's a little, all the stories have little surprises and twists at the end.
They're like
and-
Twilight Zone episodes.
But they're just so well written, and I'm just really enjoying reading them. And I guess after this, Breakfast of Champions sounds great, but people keep telling me that that's like their least favorite.
It's a Bruce Willis movie.
I don't care about that.
I like Breakfast of Champions. But I like Sirens of Titan better.
But I thought it was interesting because one of the things I like most about Slaughterhouse 5 is I loved all the Kilgore Trout stuff, and
Yeah.
Breakfast of Champions is all Kilgore Trout.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so Sirens of Titan is as if Vonnegut tried to write a Heinlein novel.
Yeah.
Like one of the weird post-brain hemorrhage or whatever sex
Yeah.
novels that Heinlein wrote.
Yeah.
It's real fucked up and weird.
But
Awesome.
what's interesting is that when he does the Kilgore Trout stuff, he almost seems to have like a disdain for like trashy science fiction, and yet he writes really good science fiction. Like I would put some of the ideas.
Oh, he's great.
Some of the ideas in like the way that Vonnegut describes linear time versus the way that the aliens perceive time is as good as anything in any Bradbury or Asimov novel I've
Absolutely.
ever read. I mean, as a science fiction mind, he's really fucking good.
And a lot of what he wrote ended up getting cribbed. Like Terry Gilliam cribbed a lot from him for like 12 Monkeys and
Right.
stuff like that.
Right.
Like if you go back and watch 12 Monkeys now, it's going to change your perception of that movie.
Yeah.
Having read, I guess, Cat's Cradle.
Yeah, so I'm slowly erasing that Vonnegut blind spot and enjoying every minute of it. And like I said, right now I'm working through his short stories. And I'll be bummed when I've read everything he's written because I will now read everything he's written.
Did you ever read Arthur Clarke? No, don't try to go down like the Isaac Asimov or Arthur Clarke Curl and read all of that stuff because there's just too much of it. But have you ever read? You've seen 2001, which is
Yes.
an Arthur Clarke book. You should read Songs of Distant Earth.
Okay.
It's from that same kind of period, and it's the other end of the spectrum from Vonnegut. But it's Arthur Clarke's best book that I've read by far.
All right.
I guess that'll do it for us.
There you go. So maybe we had a little
talk.
mini book club there, and
Yeah.
hopefully, if we've inspired like 1 or 2 people to go pick up a Kurt Vonnegut book, I feel like we've,
Yeah,
it's been
and they're
slightly-
cheap too. So
Yeah.
it goes a long
on
way.
Kindle, I think Cat's Cradle, I got it for like $4. It's crazy.
Yeah, if you go to a used bookshop, you can get all of these books for like 99 cents each.
I know, but I want them on my Kindle.
I know you're.
I don't
not
want
everybody
to
wants
carry physical books around.
It's for them, not for you.
So you don't think our audience has Kindles?
I think that they probably have phones and stuff, but maybe $4 is a lot to spend on a book that may or may not be a good chance.
Maybe so. And you should support your local bookstore as well. So, but however you get it, you should go read some Kurt Vonnegut.
There you go. We'll see you guys next week.